Chapter 453, Inexplicable Miasma. The miasma in this forest is really strong. This is the first time I'm seeing miasma so thick. Zhang Yufeng's eyes were full of horror. She was afraid to even breathe when a miasma was so close. The miasma almost looked like early morning mist. However, it wasn't. Even if they were a team member, they would be mistaken for enemies when the visibility was barely 1 meter. The faces of Gong Shaoqing and the others also became dignified. Such a strong miasma is unheard of. We should first inquire about the situation from the others. After we have some understanding, we can make further plans. Cui Haoyin said. The others nodded their heads. They believed that the cultivators who had arrived earlier would know more, and understanding more about this situation would help them come up with better plans. They slowly walked in a random direction, approaching the cultivators, whose talking voices now in a hearable range. The miasma's thickness is really terrible, and the miasma keeps spreading more every day. I can't imagine what range it will spread to. It is also really weird. Before, when some people went in, we only heard sounds. Suddenly all movement ceased, and they seemed to have disappeared. In my opinion, the mercenary trade union's judgment this time was wrong. This task is far higher than a blue level one. Everyone shook their heads, sighing. It was obvious even they were at a loss. Listening to these remarks, the hearts of the people seemed a little heavy. The power of miasma was higher than they anticipated. Dong Fangyu did not delay and went directly into the crowd to make more inquiries about the miasma. Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others found a suitable place to rest nearby. Obviously, this situation would need more inquiries. In a little while, Dong Fangyu came back and told everyone what he had earned. From Dong Fangyu's narrative, everyone had a certain understanding of the situation. It turned out that many cultivators had arrived here as early as a few days ago at the miasma forest. They had discovered that the miasma was spreading little by little. Every day, the area covered by the miasma would get a little bigger. Not only that, people had heard the howls of wicked from time to time coming from inside. The howls were extremely loud. Even some of the old mercenaries who had often come to Luoyun Mountains did not know what they were. During this time, many cultivators had courageously entered the miasma forest, but they had not reported the slightest news after entering. As the days got longer and longer, everyone thought that the others must have died. Nowadays, people had begun fearing this inexplicable miasma, but since they had sent people to ask for news, they could only sit back and wait quietly. I have heard that miasma forests spread over time, but this is the first time that I have witnessed it. Cui Haoyan's eyes were wide, his face full of wonder. Many people, like Bailey Hong Zhuang, sat in silence. This situation wasn't unheard of. In my opinion, we don't need to worry. Let's think of what to do. Gong Shaoqing said. The current situation was clearly beyond their expectation. Taking rash actions was absolutely impossible. Now, let's not be so anxious. Let's get to know more about the situation. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes were bright. She had always been interested in such unknown things. Chapter 454, I do not know your name. Having a better understanding of the situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang directly walked closer to the miasma. She had seen a lot of toxic miasmas in her past life, but it seemed that this miasma is more toxic than the one she had encountered before. When the practitioners around saw Bailey Hong Zhuang walk so close to the miasma, a strange expression appeared on their faces. Girl, this is poisonous. I advise you to be a little farther away from the miasma. A young man could not help but walk next to Bailey Hong Zhuang after seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang's beautiful face, reminding in goodwill. It would be a pity if the life of such a beautiful woman were to be extinguished because of this miasma. The man who had walked towards her was young, and Bailey Hong Zhuang guessed that he was around 20 years old. He looked handsome and was well-dressed. Obviously, he was not an ordinary mercenary. He should be the young master of some family. Thank you for reminding me. Bailey Hong Zhuang said lightly in a polite tone. Since the other party had reminded her out of goodwill, she did not feel the need to be cold-faced. Immediately afterward, Bailey Hong Zhuang took out a long needle from her yin-yang pouch and tried to make the silver needle touch the miasma. Master, what are you doing? Xiaohei asked curiously, looking with its intelligent eyes. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. I'm testing the toxicity of the miasma. People can't go inside it directly. This acupuncture needle is really magical. You can even test the toxicity of the miasma using it, Xiaobai said with some emotion. Baisher silently hugged the shoulders of Bailey Hong Zhuang, his eyes tightly focused on the miasma. To be precise, he was staring into the depths of the miasma. Master, I seem to feel a familiar atmosphere in this miasma. Baisher's eyes glowed with complex emotions, apparently somewhat skeptical and somewhat uncertain. Her inky black, phoenix eyes swept over the miasma, and Bailey Hong Zong felt a little strange. You know which wicket is inside the miasma? Baisher was the Beastmaster. Naturally, it belonged in the ranks of mythical beasts. Wicked and human cultivators were different. Wicked have a very magical power and can be contracted with. Even Baisher had never seen a wicked, demonic beast of the same level ever since he came to be. Its mother had already passed on a lot of knowledge to Baisher when she had bred him. This included cultivation methods and all information that Baisher needs to know. As Baisher grew up, Baisher learned more and more. Whatever he had inherited in his memory would never go away. It was obviously better than human knowledge. Baisher shook his head and looked somewhat helpless. I just felt that the aura was somewhat familiar, but I can't be sure which wicket it is. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang wasn't disappointed and laughed. It doesn't matter. You might be able to tell when we get closer to the wicket. Hu Junqing saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang did not leave, and instead took out a needle and put it into the miasma. A doubtful expression appeared on his face. Girl, what are you doing? The man asked, and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at her side for a moment. There was a trace of impatience in her mind. She did not like to be disturbed when she was busy. I am Hu Junqing. I do not know what the girl is called. Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang never answered, Hu Junqing did not care. To the so-called fair lady, gentlemen would be good. For rare beauties like Bailey Hong Zhuang, it was also normal for them to not care about other people. Such a beautiful person, even if rejected, it was also an enjoyment. Chapter 455, How Dare You? Master, this guy seems to have taken a fancy to you. Xiaohei's eyes flashed with excitement, as if hoping for a good show. These people are the most annoying. Bailey Hong Zhuang did not plan on ignoring Hu Junqing. She just believed that this guy was an annoyance and should not bother her. Our master was talking to you. How dare you ignore him? The brawny man beside Hu Junqing was full of dissatisfaction. Their young master had such a distinguished famille background. How could someone dare to ignore him like that? Hu Junqing looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with deep feelings. He did not stop the guard around him, and even appeared somewhat proud of it. However, Bailey Hong Zhuang's face chilled instantly. This time, she found the guards of this man to be extremely annoying. Roll! The cold, chilly voice did not contain a trace of emotion. Bailey Hong Zhuang did not even glance at Hu Junqing and his guards. The unassuming attitude clearly displayed her contempt. Seeing the attitude of Bailey Hong Zhuang, the faces of the guards and Hu Junqing darkened. So far, no one had dared to tell them to roll. How dare you? The guard warned. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows wrinkled. She was studying the toxins in the miasma intently. Suddenly, a bunch of noisy guys had disturbed her. Just when Bailey Hong Zhuang was about to make a move and solve this trouble, a figure clad in pale gold appeared beside her and in front of Hu Junqing. How dare you? Didn't you hear it? Di Bei Chun was like a dark storm, arrogant and decisive, not giving others the slightest chance of rejection. Hu Junqing looked at Di Bei Chun, who had suddenly appeared in front of him and wanted to threaten him. He never thought that after seeing Di Bei Chun's countenance, he would be at a loss for words. The dark and deep eyes were cold and murderous. Just a single look made him feel the dangerous atmosphere around. Although this idea was incredible, it truly did exist. However, Hu Junqing did not have time to stop the security guards next to him. Before he could say anything, they had already spoken. What kind of onion are you? How dare you speak to our young master like that? I think you're looking for death. Bei Chen's mouth curved in an evil smile. His aura became more and more cold, the killing intent congealing, letting a shiver run down people's spines. After seeing Ti's scene, all the cultivators around also anticipated a good scene. Over the past few days, the place had become really monotonous. It is rare to have a fight break out. Everyone was very interested. Isn't that young master who? This newcomer is really unlucky. Yes, Hu Juqing's strength is not weak. I heard that the Hu's are interested in the miasma forest. The Hu family has sent a lot of cultivators here. Oh, they just had to provoke the Hu family after arriving. This is really bad luck. I am afraid this MN will be crushed. The security guards looked at Bei Chun in a proud manner, whose escorts had always bullied others. Where does anyone have the power to talk back? I also feel that you are looking for death. The arc of Bei Chen's lips became wider, more dangerous and colder. In the next moment, shouts of excitement broke out from the practitioners around. Everyone was surprised to see the scene before them, hardly able to believe it. Chapter 456, Too Violent, Very Violent, by Junyu sighed somewhat emotionally. Usually, he rarely saw Bei Chun make a move. He did not expect that when Bei Chun did make a move, he would be so arrogant and cold. Sure enough, he and Bailey Hong Zhuang. They're too bloody. Cui Haoyan shook his head with a calm expression. After spending such a long time with these perverted people, he had become more and calmer. Wow, he's so handsome. Xia Zhiqing could not hide her excitement. This scene of bloody violence she likes very much. Gong Shaoqing, Dong Fengyu, Lu Qinyu, and Zhang Yinfeng stood still and silent. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Bei Chun are really troublesome people. The escort who had originally acted arrogantly in front of Bei Chun had now shut up after Bei Chun punched him and made him unable to speak. He then kicked the guy into the air. The people around did not hear the slightest sound. The guards who had previously been all high and mighty were now lying on the ground, not moving. As for Hu Junqing and the escort, they had scrammed far away like Bailey Hong Zhuang had said, because Bei Chun was at a realm that they could only dream of defeating, and this made them run away. That's right. They had now turned tail and ran. Now Hu Junqing and the escort were quietly scramming, unable to say anything. What's more, they didn't even know how far they should go. In any case, if they did not go far enough, Bei Chun would surely help them do it. That would be bad. Therefore, the unlucky Hu Junqing and the escort can only scram. Bei Chun turned his face and looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang. Wifey, doesn't it feel a lot quieter? Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled slightly. She too was impressed by Bei Chen's move. It seemed that Bei Chun was just as unforgiving as her. Not bad, Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded. In that case, in order to prevent other people from harassing Wifey, I will keep Wifey company. Then, Bei Chun did not give Bailey Hong Zhuang a chance to refuse and directly stood beside her, just like a good husband and wife pair. The cultivators around had an understanding at this moment and looked at Bei Chun. They fully understood what Bei Chun was trying to convey. Bailey Hong Zhuang felt somewhat helpless. Bei Chun will obviously not go, but she thinks that this misunderstanding was bad. Wifey, what are you studying? He DBC saw Bailey Hong Zhuang intently staring at the silver needle that had darkened before their eyes. In the past, when he was helped by Bailey Hong Zhuang, he had already seen the magic of acupuncture needles. Since the needle had turned black, it proved the toxicity. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows furrowed, her beautiful face dignified. The poison to miasma is very strong. Those cultivators who had entered earlier must have surely died. I think I need to study this toxin. Otherwise, it will be impossible to understand the situation inside the miasma forest. Bei Chun nodded slightly. He had always admired Bailey Hong Zhuang's techniques. The toxin is so strong, but there are still demonic beasts inside. This is a bit bizarre. I also think that there are only two possible explanations. First, the center of the miasma forest has no toxin. Second, the demonic beasts are already accustomed to the toxin. Chapter 457 Shocked, Ancient Monument. This miasma has only appeared recently. Demonic beasts will not be able to adapt to it in such a short time. Dibei Chen's eyes flashed with the light of wisdom. His appearance was like that of a knowledgeable person who knew a lot. My thoughts are the same as yours. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled at this tacit understanding. Since it's like this, these bizarre demonic beasts will be worth studying. Immediately after that, Bailey Hong Zhuang returned to the side of Xia Zhiqing and the others. Sitting down, she began to concentrate on researching the toxin. The thick miasma made vision low, and unless they entered the miasma, they could not perceive anything on the inside, and it made information scarcer. Xia Zhiqing and the others looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang's complicated process of researching toxins, and they all felt a deep sense of admiration. In fact, in the face of this poisonous miasma, they really did not have the slightest idea or solution. Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo were no longer hiding their presence after the miasma forest situation. It was no longer necessary for them to hide. It was better to stay with their students. This toxin is very strong, and even if it is someone with my level of cultivation, they will not last long. Lu Huayin judged. As soon as this remark was said, the people's faces could not help but change. Not even the teacher would persist for a long time, let alone them. It seems that the mercenary trade union's judgment this time really was wrong. This task is definitely more than a blue level. Lu Huayan's eyes revealed his seriousness. After the demonic beast tied, suddenly a miasma forest has popped up. It is a bit strange, and I am afraid that something is going on. Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo looked at each other. This kind of situation was something they had only heard of but never encountered. It couldn't be, Lu Huayin said slowly, but in his heart there was a faint guess. Fu Hongbo nodded slightly. It is possible. Both teachers' expressions changed. If things really were as they expected, it would mean something big would soon happen. Xia Zhiqing and others looked at the two teachers in puzzlement. They simply didn't understand what the two mentor was talking about. It was through their expressions that they determined that things weren't exactly good. I didn't expect such a thing to appear here. Dibei Chun leaned against a tree, a wide smile on his lips. Bailey Hong Zhuang, who was still researching the toxin on the needle, heard Dibei Chen's words, and her clear eyes showed her curiosity. You already know why this miasma is here? If I expect things to be correct, this miasma should be the sign of the birth of an ancient monument. For Bailey Hong Zhuang, Dibei Chun had no intention of concealing anything. Ancient monument. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows rose. She had also seen ancient monuments, but she has not known that ancient monuments were also accompanied by miasma. Ancient relics were structures built by strong cultivators. They kept their lives' wealth and inheritance in the remains, only to find a good person who could inherit these later on. The cultivators who built monuments were at the apex of cultivators. After all, it took a lot of energy to build a monument. Ancient monuments were generally located beneath the ground or in a small world created by the strong cultivator. Only if certain criteria were met will these monuments be revealed. If an ancient monument had appeared, it must mean that certain criteria had now been met, and now it had been revealed. Chapter 458, Researching the Toxin. Dibei Chun nodded in agreement. He saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang didn't seem to know a lot about ancient monuments, so he gave a brief explanation of ancient monuments to Bailey Hong Zhuang. Why is the ancient monument surrounded by miasma? Bailey Hong Zhuang asked. This was the part that she did not understand the most. Hundreds of years ago, the Luoyun Mountains was a miasma forest with strong toxicity. When the miasma gradually dissipated, the Luoyun Mountains became what they are now. I read in history books about it. The miasma was very scary, with a strong toxicity and a very wide range, like the miasma forest in front of us. However, even though I scoured many history books, there were no recorded reasons for why the miasma was produced. Bailey Hong Zhuang showed a thoughtful expression. She had not thought that the Luoyun Mountains would have such a history. It may not have happened in the era she lived. Having said that, is it likely that ancient monuments and buried relics generate miasma? Bailey Hong Zhuang still had doubts. If it were as she thought, then they were very close to discovering a huge treasure. A strong cultivator who built an ancient monument must have a very rich heritage. Whether it was power laws, martial arts, or weapons, they would all be precious. These kind of treasures were very rare in the past. The ones having high values belonged to the inheritance of various families. Ancient relics were inheritances belonging to ordinary cultivators. As long as they were lucky, they too might pick up a few good things. Clever, Di Bei Chen praised. Because this miasma is very strong, most cultivators are unable to enter. I believe that we still can't predict the situation inside. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. If we went in, would it mean we would be the first to arrive? Yes, Di Bei Chen nodded, but this miasma is horribly toxic. Wanting to enter is not an easy thing. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips arched in confidence. Leave the detoxifying of this miasma on me. Since there was a chance that they could inherit many treasures, how could she not seize the opportunity? Detoxification, this was her forte. Since Di Bei Chun had only guessed that there was an ancient monument in the miasma forest, she believed that others might not even have thought of it. It must be known that ancient relics could sometimes surpass even family treasures. All old practitioners are well informed. As long as they get the slightest wind of this, they would guess what was happening. There was not a lot of time left for them. Bailey Hong Zhuang did not waste any more time and immediately began to study the toxin to configure the detoxification dam. After some research, she had learned the characters of the toxin, but the configuration of detoxification dam was the most complicated. Because the slightest difference in each ingredient will lead to different effects in the detoxification dam, she needs to study it extremely carefully. After all, if she were just the slightest bit careless, their lives may be lost. Time flew by, and it was nighttime now. After everyone had eaten some of their dry rations, they were ready to rest. However, when the team looked across to see Bailey Hong Zhuang, their gazes betrayed their admiration. From morning to now, Bailey Hong Zhuang had spent all her time in configuring the detoxification dam with full attention. She hadn't even had time to eat or rest. Bailey Hong Zhuang seemed to be immersed in her own world. Everything that happened outside her little bubble had nothing to do with her. She was completely unaffected. Chapter 459 excited. Bailey Hong Zhuang that day, all of them learned why Bailey Hong Zhuang had been able to achieve such success at such a young age. All along, they all thought that they were serious about their cultivation. But compared to Bailey Hong Zhuang, they found that their so-called seriousness was nothing. So immersed in her medical research, Bailey Hong Zhuang had reached a realm where she forgot hunger and fatigue. Lu Qinyu looked at her, feeling deep inside her that she had never truly understood Bailey Hong Zhuang. She only thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang had a gift of talent, and thus was able to receive such a result. Now it seems that Bailey Hong Zhuang's talent was very good, but her efforts were even more. For a time, everyone seemed to have received a lesson. There was a sense of enlightenment in their hearts. If they could achieve the same level of success as Bailey Hong Zhuang, they had to put in all their efforts into it. Only then would it mean something. Di Bei Chen's eyes fell on the figure of Bailey Hong Zhuang. His lady had a different kind of charm to her, especially when she was so serious. This kind of charm made her even more fascinating. The next day, the skies gradually lightened. Everyone opened their eyes to discover that Bailey Hong Zhuang was in the same posture as last night when she had been studying the toxin, but she was still studying the results of her research yesterday. By Junyu, Hong Zhuang is still researching. Did she not rest last night? Xia Zhiqing asked with shock. Bai Junyu shook his head dazedly. He slept very hard last night. He did not see it, but he knew that Bailey Hong Zhuang did not rest. Hong Zhuang is working too hard. Researching the toxin will of course take time. Isn't it too much for her? Won't she be under too much pressure? Zhang Yinfeng showed her concern of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Such dedicated researching would be extremely consuming. Gong Xiaoqing waved a hand. Bailey Hong Zhuang is not under pressure. She is just excited. Excited? Everyone was somewhat clueless. After researching for day and night, She was excited? Gong Xiaoqing nodded, but never explained himself. He only gestured towards where Bailey Hongzhuang sat. Everyone looked at her carefully. They found that Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were burning with a flame. This was not a state of exhaustion, but the opposite. That's right, Bailey Hongzhuang was now excited. She was extremely interested in toxins that she had never encountered before. She never felt exhausted when she researched them. The more challenging it was, the more she liked it. It was precisely because of this that her medical skills were so superb. There were still so many toxins to study. The people were all silent for a while, and thought this was too perverted. Geniuses are genius, and they could not be compared to ordinary people. On the other hand, Di Bei-chun only stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang had researched overnight. He also stayed with Bailey Hongzhuang the entire night. Although he couldn't help Bailey Hongzhuang in her research of the toxin, he could at least make sure that Bailey Hongzhuang was not alone. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other. They were now more and more satisfied with Di Bei-chun. When darkness fell again, Bailey Hongzhuang's face, which had been expressionless all this while, suddenly revealed a bright smile. It was the first time Di Bei-chun had seen it, and he couldn't help his smile. I studied it. Bailey Hongzhuang was still smiling. After her 2 days and a night of research, the detoxification Dan had finally been configured. Chapter 460 Despair. Dong Fengyu as Bailey Hongzhuang said those words. Everyone's eyes condensed on Bailey Hongzhuang's form. The research is complete? The people asked in unison. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, her smile confident and determined. After taking this detoxification, Dan, we will be able to cross this miasma forest. Everyone's eyes showed their joy. The biggest problem had been the poisonous miasma, but they no longer had to fear this. They could now complete this task. Bailey Hongzhuang, you rest first. We will enter the miasma forest tomorrow. Lu Huayan said. Bailey Hongzhuang, researching for such a long time, with such high concentration, must be mentally fatigued. She would need a good rest to make up for it. Teacher Lu is right. You rest first. Fu Hongbo also piped in. He was also very familiar with the current situation of Bailey Hongzhuang. Because she was excited, she was unable to feel any fatigue. However, once this excitement passed, Bailey Hongzhuang would be extremely tired. Xia Zhiqing and the others also came together. They were also very worried about Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing the concern expressed in everyone's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart felt warm, and she immediately smiled and said, yes. After the excitement melted away, Bailey Hongzhuang found that she was really exhausted. Her head seemed to be bursting with pain due to the loss of spiritual power. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly leaned against a tree. Just as she was about to rest, Di Bei-chun fed her a supplementary pill. Swallowing the pill, Bailey Hongzhuang looked strangely at Di Bei-chun, asking silently, the loss of your spiritual power is very serious. You so laboriously developed the detoxification Dan to be able to enter the miasma forest tomorrow. If you don't properly restore your spiritual power, will you be in a good condition to go tomorrow? Di Bei-chun's voice was gentle, his eyes full of care and distress. During these 2 days and night, he had seen how hard Bailey Hongzhuang had worked. He felt very distressed. However, he knew that with Bailey Hongzhuang's obsession with the development of the detoxification Dan, he could not stop her, so now he considered himself responsible to take care of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Bei-chun silently. She wanted to say something, but did not know what to say. The supplementary pill was a well-known pill which provided energy when in need. It would also supplement her with the spiritual power she had lost. The originally tired figure also became more comfortable under the effect of the supplement pill. Di Bei-chun reached out and put his hand on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder. Take a good rest. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure stiffened momentarily, but she relaxed as soon as she heard Di Bei-chun's words. Leaning against Di Bei-chun's shoulder, she fell asleep. Not far away, Dong Fengyu was looking at this scene and felt a pain in his heart. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang hadn't really given much consideration to Di Bei-chun's attitude in the past and was cold towards him, his heart still had a faint hope. Now it seems like that hope had been completely destroyed. The eyes of Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Shi all showed their exhilaration. It seemed that their master's relationship with Di Bei-chan was getting closer and closer. Di Bei-chan looked at the side of Bailey Hong Zhuang's face, a smile gracing his lips. The smile was full of contentment, not disguising the tenderness that sprang from his deepest emotions. In comparison, he felt that the hardships he suffered these past 3 years had been worth it, because he found his most important person. Chapter 461. When Bailey Hong Zhuang woke up, she felt that the original fatigue that she had been feeling had dissipated, and she felt extremely energetic. As a doctor, she knew very well how long it took for her body to recover. She had recovered quicker than anticipated. She could see that the pill that Di Bei-chan had fed her was of a very high value. However, from the corner of her eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang caught sight of a slight smile on Di Bei-chan's face. Wifey was holding her husband the entire night. Is she satisfied? The sound was a bit teasing and low. The care in the eyes of Di Bei-chan remained unchanged. Bailey Hong Zhuang was slightly stunned. Then she realized that she was holding Di Bei-chan and quickly released her hand. Her face was tinged with a touch of blush, and Bailey Hong Zhuang felt deeply annoyed. She knew she had been leaning on Di Bei-chan's shoulder. Why? After she woke up, she was even holding on to Di Bei-chan. This is really not clear at all. Wifey shouldn't be sad. We are husband and wife. You hold me while sleeping. It is natural. Di Bei-chan gazed at Bailey Hong Zhuang with gentle eyes. I didn't know what happened after I slept, explained Bailey Hong Zhuang. I understand. Di Bei-chan nodded his head earnestly, as if he completely believed Bailey Hong Zhuang's words. However, the more she looked at Di Bei-chan, the more she understood that Di Bei-chan was not convinced. Looking over at the other side, Bailey Hong Zhuang found that everyone was looking at them with traces of smiles, and her face became even more awkward. Xia Zhiqing went next to Bailey Hong Zhuang and smiled slyly. Hong Zhuang, I now feel more and more that you and Di Bei-chan are a natural pair. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at Xia Zhiqing. I just slept. I don't even know why it became this way. It's normal. A couple should be like this. I think your feelings are enviable. Xia Zhiqing said with a smile. You don't know, but in order to let you sleep comfortably, Di Bei-chan has kept the same posture since he woke up. He never moved. I really admire him. Previously, she had not paid attention to this matter. Xia Zhiqing nodded seriously. You shouldn't be embarrassed, Hong Zhuang. I think that Di Bei-chan is very good to you. You didn't have any rest for 2 days and night while developing the detoxification Dan. Di Bei-chan was also beside you the entire time and never rested. If a man can be so good to me, I too will treat him well. You must cherish this. Xia Zhiqing said with sincerity, earnest. As a friend, she was very happy for Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang felt slightly touched, and her eyes could not help but look at Di Bei-chan, just happening to catch a glimpse of Di Bei-chan's smile. Her calm heart suddenly jumped. Master, you like Di Bei-chan, huh? Xia He gleefully said. Agreed. Xiao Bai followed. I agree too. Bai Shi also said enthusiastically. Bailey Hong Zhuang could not be bothered to reprimand these 3 contractual beasts who were happy, and instead looked towards the crowd and said, I have developed the detoxification Dan. We should now be able to enter the miasma. Then Bailey Hong Zhuang distributed her detoxification Dan among everyone. Bailey Hong Zhuang, can you really resist the toxin with this detoxification Dan? Lu Huayan asked. Chapter 462. As Lu Huayan said that, everyone's eyes condensed on Bailey Hong Zhuang's figure. In these 2 days, they have already felt the danger of the miasma just by listening to the conversations of other cultivators. Many of the cultivators in this field of work had a variety of detoxification Dan, but the final result was that nobody's detoxification Dan could resist the powerful toxin. Nowadays, many cultivators had given up the thought of entering the miasma forest. After all, to lose your life for a mystery, it was not worth it. I am very confident about my detoxification Dan, Bailey Hongzhuang's face had a faint smile. Why don't I take a detoxification, Dan, and enter the miasma first? Until then, I can make sure there is no problem, and then you can go in. Bailey Hongzhuang could understand everyone's suspicion. After all, the slightest carelessness here could be fatal. Others do not know, but she had full confidence in her medical skills. Although the toxins in the miasma were slightly different, all poisons were somewhat similar in nature. She had already researched it before for a long time. This time it was 100% safe. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, everyone's face expressed their embarrassment. It was not that they did not believe Bailey Hongzhuang, but they really had to be careful with this kind of thing. On seeing this, Dongfang Yu was slightly tight-minded and wanted to go in, instead of Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Dongfang Yu had yet to say anything when Di Bei-chun had already taken a detoxification dan. How can this kind of thing be done by a lady? Di Bei-chun's mouth curved in a graceful and charming smile, his dark, bottomless eyes filled with trust. In the next moment, Di Bei-chun turned towards the miasma. I will give you the news if there is no problem. Di Bei-chun's back was turned to her, and Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes gradually changed, and her mind seemed to be melting. This man seemed to believe her in such a manner, whenever and wherever she was. Didn't he know that if there was a problem, he would only die? The other people's expressions also changed again. They felt that Di Bei-chun was really sincere towards Bailey Hongzhuang. He was even ready to send his life directly into Bailey Hongzhuang's palm. The emotion in Dongfang Yu's eyes became more complex. He thought that Di Bei-chun did not care enough about Bailey Hongzhuang. It seemed that he was wrong before. How could such a person who was willing to trust Bailey Hongzhuang with his life be indifferent to her? Just as Di Bei-chun walked towards the miasma, a warm and soft little hand caught his. His handsome and unparalleled face was covered with a hint of surprise. Di Bei-chun turned to see Bailey Hongzhuang in shock, as if he couldn't believe this situation. We'll go together. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her head, smiling slightly and looking at Di Bei-chun's bright and sunny laughter. Just a simple sentence. Everything goes without saying. The smile on Di Bei-chun's face came from the deepest part of his heart, and he added some force into his hand. He held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly, as if he wouldn't let go of it. The cultivators around saw the actions of the two people, and a color of doubt appeared in their eyes. They did not understand what the two wanted to do. As the two gradually approached the miasma, the crowd also understood their plan. Suddenly, many cultivators felt sorry for the two people. Chapter 463, Bailey Hongzhuang dead? They actually want to go into the miasma forest. Aren't they simply looking for a way to die? There's always someone in the world who thinks too highly of themselves. So many people have not succeeded. Do they think they can succeed? They will die in vain for nothing. This couple is so splendid. It would be a pity if they would die like this. The cultivators around all talked to one another. The only thing all of them were curious about was the result of these two people's courage. The past 2 days, Bailey Hongzhuang had been studying the toxin in the miasma, although the vast majority of cultivators simply did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang could develop a detoxification dan to survive the toxins in the miasma. However, since they were willing to die first, they all were also willing to wait and see. Walking to the miasma, Di Bei-chun said with a chuckle, "Wifey, let's go in." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Good. The next moment, the two of them walked into the miasma, and that very instant the two disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. After Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hongzhuang disappeared, Gong Shaoqing and the others' eyes expressed fear. Nothing will happen to Hongzhuang, right? Xia Zhiqing cupped her hand together. Her brow knotted with fear. She was really too worried. She was also prepared to go in with Bailey Hongzhuang, but Di Bei-chun's move was too fast. She felt that this was a good time for Di Bei-chun to express his feelings, and it was not appropriate for her to go in. I hope not. Bai Jun had a complex expression on his face. I believe in the medical technique of Bailey Hongzhuang. Everyone became silent. Now that things had developed to this point, they could only wait for the result. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang went in, there was no sign of movement from them. Even if Xia Zhiqing loudly shouted out Bailey Hong Zhuang's name, there was no response. On seeing this, the cultivators around them all shook their heads, able to determine the result from the current circumstances. Those two people must have died inside. It is impossible for anyone to enter such a toxic miasma successfully. In my opinion, we must not do anything, otherwise we will only be losing our lives. I previously saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang developed the detoxification Dan for a long time. She thought she was strong, but she was just stupid. Listening to everyone's words, the faces of Dong Fong Yu and the others became helpless, their hearts gradually sinking down. No, with how good Bailey Hong Zhuang is, how could this be a problem? Xia Zhiqing's face was pale, and she couldn't accept this fact. Bailey Hong Zhuang was the godly doctor of the Fengbo country. Bailey Hong Zhuang could even cure what the vice principal was helpless against, showing how skilled Bailey Hong Zhuang was in medicine. Just now, she had clearly seen how confident Bailey Hong Zhuang was. There should be no problem. What was happening now? In the eyes of Gong Shaoqing, layers of waves appeared, the always icy expression, stormy. In this miasma, the visibility is very low. Maybe there are other dangers besides the toxin. Gong Shaoqing replied. Liu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo, hearts were equally as heavy. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichun were their most promising students. When the team's mood sank to a rock bottom, suddenly a sound shook the sky. Immediately afterward, a red glow lit up the sky, attracting everyone's attention. After seeing the bright red light, the previously desolate faces of Xia Zhiqing and the others showed a smile. Chapter 464 Danger. It was because the red signal was one that belonged to their college. The eyes of Xia Zhiqing were lit up with a strong light. The entire group couldn't help but cheer. I knew that Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichun would be all right. Yeah, luckily they're all right, huh? Bai Junyu laughed, and his eyes were full of ease and joy. The previously worried Dong Fong Yu also recovered his usual expression. At this moment, a happy smile reappeared in his peach blossom eyes. Fortunately, he muttered to himself. Fortunately, she was fine. Even though he already knows that there was no possibility of anything between him and Bailey Hong Zhuang, he still hoped to see her from time to time. As soon as he thought that she could disappear from his sight forever, his heart would almost stop beating. Gong Shaoqing was silent, but a hint of comfort passed through his ever-cold eyes. They're fine. Liu Huaiyin breathed a sigh of relief. As a mentor, he felt that he made an extremely terrible mistake letting the two of them go. At this moment, knowing that the two of them were safe, the sense of guilt in his heart eased up a bit. Since Hong Zhuang has already sent us a message, we will not delay any longer and directly go in. Xia Zhiqing quickly said. She had been feeling guilty all this while, but now she was finally able to shrug off the feeling. She was now unable to wait any longer. We'll set off. Fu Hongbo smiled. The cultivators around looked as if they had seen a ghost at seeing the red signal. So far, no one knows how many cultivators had tried to enter, but not even a single one came out. All they could think of was the two people who went and had released the signal bomb. So to say, did that mean that Bailey Hong Zhuang's research was successful in preparing a detoxification Dan against the miasma? As soon as they thought of this, everyone's eyes flashed brightly. Looking at Xia Zhiqing and the others, their eyes were like that of a cat which had seen a mouse, shining. Liu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo felt that things were not going well. The most attractive thing to everyone now was the detoxification Dan left by Bailey Hong Zhuang. These cultivators would surely fight for it. Even if their strength was not weak, fighting with so many cultivators, they wouldn't have even half a chance of winning. Almost immediately aware of the danger, Liu Huaiyin hurriedly said, "Go now." The loud, intense words exploded in the ears of Xia Zhiqing and the others. Everyone was shocked and quickly turned to miasma and rushed in. In the eyes of others, it was a deadly poison, but in their eyes, it was a shield. Once they were in the miasma, these people would dare not pursue them. "Quickly catch them!" Someone shouted, and all the cultivators rushed to them, eyes red. The atmosphere turned rushed and violent, and Xiaji Qing and the others put their speed to the limit and rushed into the miasma without hesitation. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo were at the rear of the team, shielding Xiaji Qing and the others so they could enter the miasma forest. Oh, when they saw the white surroundings around them, Xiaji Qing and the others finally breathed a sigh of relief. The whitish miasma was like a fog that obstructed everyone's sight. If everyone gathered close, they could still not even see the other person's face. Teacher Lu and Teacher Fu have not come in yet. Will they be in any danger? Lu Qinyu's face showed her fear. Chapter 465, Entering the Miasma Forest. The faces of the people around change slightly, and they turn around to try and help the two mentors. We shouldn't worry. The strength of the two teachers is commendable. This shouldn't be a problem. Gong Xiaoqing comforted the team for the first time. His icy, frosty face was still calm. They had rushed into the miasma first. He believed that the two teachers would be able to retreat. Now, all the cultivators must be near the miasma. However, it was very dangerous, as there was a risk of dying. All the people heard this and calmed down. Gong Xiaoqing's experience was the most abundant among the people who were present. Indeed, with their strength, I'm afraid they couldn't help out. On the contrary, it may drag down the two teachers. Just when everyone decided to wait, Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo rushed in. How are you all? Lu Huaiyin asked out loud. Teacher, we're okay. How are you? Lu Qinyu asked with care. Fu Hongbo waved his hand. Since we're all right, let's go. After Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun went into the miasma forest, she found that there was no hesitation the part of Di Bei Chun from start to end. It was as if he had entered the back garden of his own home, instead of a poisonous miasma forest. Wifey, this is the first time you're holding husband's hand. Di Bei Chun said happily and smiled, staring at Bailey Hong Zhuang beside him. Listening to this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's face turned red. Shouldn't this guy be worrying about his life right now? Why was he worried about this issue? She did not know where the courage to hold Di by Chen's hand came from. At this moment, the two people were alone, and the atmosphere was somewhat embarrassing. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang intended to leave the hand of Di Bei Chun. However, Di Bei Chun seemed to have already guessed Bailey Hong Zhuang's intention and held on to Bailey Hong Zhuang's hand tighter, not giving her a chance to escape. Since you have taken my hand, you can't let go. The eyes of Di Bei Chun were filled with smiles, but the deep wells of darkness were full of seriousness. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked up and looked at Di Bei Chun, her mouth suddenly raising in a smile. Unlike their relationship before in the Fengbo country, she suddenly felt Di Bei Chun was close to her. Bailey Hong Zhuang only quietly stared at Di Bei Chun. Let's go. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. Di Bei Chun felt his heart squeeze, and the arc of his mouth gradually expanded, exuding sincere joy. Good. Should I send up the signal bomb now? Bailey Hong Zhuang lightly shook her head. We just came in. Let's wait a bit longer and confirm the effect. Let's send it up later. Di Bei Chun smiled. You're right. Let's go ahead and check it out. As Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang gradually walked deeper, they found that the depth of the miasma forest was not as much as Bailey Hong Zhuang had expected. It was just a huge forest because of its breadth. The two sped up, and they discovered that there was no other danger in the miasma forest other than the miasma. Going at full speed, the progress of the two was very fast. Master, we are getting closer and closer to that familiar atmosphere. Baisher's voice rang out beside Bailey Hong Zhuang. This breath is coming from the heart of the miasma forest. Yes, Baisher assured. Chapter 466 Identity. Bailey Hong Zhuang saw that Baisher was so sure, and her speed could not help but slow down. The closer they got to the center, the more careful they needed to be. After all, nobody knows what was inside, and it was very likely that they would be attacked by demonic, wicked beasts as soon as they entered. Ka! A loud sound came. The demonic beast had obviously felt the closeness of the two of them. The shriek indicated its obvious restlessness. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun looked at each other, eyes full of seriousness. Master, the demonic beast is supposed to be blocked. Baisher spoke up slowly. Blocked. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows rose slightly. In that case, this demonic beast is likely to be the guardian beast of the ruins. Encountering such a situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang was now more and more sure about the existence of the ancient monument. Guardian beasts, they were not something that ordinary relics would have. It seems they really had found a treasure. Xiaohei nodded. It is very likely. I can feel certain vagueness to the strong aura. It should be from the band. Xiaohei and Xiao Bai were no strangers to ancient monuments. They had been alive for a long period of time. For ordinary people, seeing an ancient monument was very difficult, but for them, it was no big deal. The miasma in front is getting lighter. It seems to be as we expected. There is no miasma in the middle of the forest. The corners of Bailey Hong Zhuang's mouth rose in a smile, her face glowing with confidence. Finally, the miasma disappeared completely from before their sights, and they saw a huge open space before them, its area comparable to that of a small city. The trees and vegetation originally growing in this area appeared to have sunken into the ground, and something had appeared faintly from below ground. Although always calm, Di Bei Chun, after seeing the situation in front of his eyes, could not help the hint of surprise from emerging in his face. It seems to be an ancient monument, Di Bei Chun exclaimed. The corners of Bailey Hong Zhuang's mouth exposed a shallow smile. If it weren't for the demonic beast frenzy, I'm afraid this monument would have remained unknown for how long. In my opinion, the monument has come up quite a lot from below ground. By tomorrow, the monument will be revealed completely. It is because of the appearance of the monument that the miasma outside will continue to spread. Bailey Hong Zhuang's clear eyes revealed a thoughtful expression. When she saw the scene, she could deduce the facts. Di Bei Chun looked down into the eyes of Bailey Hong Zhuang with surprise. Even though he had previously learned about ancient monuments, this was the first time he had truly seen one. However, the calm appearance of Bailey Hong Zhuang was like she had seen this long before, without any surprise. It was reasonable to say that with Bailey Hong Zhuang's life experience, it should be impossible for her to have seen it before. However, Bailey Hong Zhuang was deeply hidden. Since Bailey Hong Zhuang showed her medical skills, he felt that Bailey Hong Zhuang's background must be unusual. Today, he felt he had still underestimated her. Bailey Hong Zhuang was paying attention to Di Bei Chun's expressions and could vaguely guess the other's idea. In this regard, she did not intend to hide, because these things would be exposed sooner or later. Even if they are hidden now, they aren't of use. After a moment of strangeness, Di Bei Chun's face returned to normal. Regarding of Bailey Hong Zhuang's background, he did not care. Chapter 467, since it would still take some time for the ancient monument to be revealed. Both of them closed their eyes and started to cultivate and rest. Only in this way could they enter in the best condition when the monument would be revealed. Hong Zhuang, I finally found you. Not long after, Xia Jiqing's surprised voice came from behind them as she appeared in front of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. You have finally arrived. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo's eyes fell on the cracked surface where a foreign object rose from the ground, their faces covered in shock. It seems that our conjecture was correct. Lu Huaiyin said slowly. I did not expect that there would be an ancient monument in the Luo Yun Mountains. Fu Hongbo's eyes had a hint of happiness. If an ancient monument is revealed, there will certainly be any forces competing for its treasures. Thanks to the existence of the miasma, it has not been discovered by them. The blue-level task announced by the Mercenary Trade Union had aroused the attention of many people, although most people will not be able to guess this result. The old men from the powers are well informed and may already have seen through the clues. Hearing this, Lu Huayan's face changed a bit. Indeed, the old monsters of those big forests could not be measured with. We were the first ones to enter the miasma forest. Looking at things, the monument will be fully revealed tomorrow. Liu Huayin and Fu Hongbo were teachers. Although they were well-informed, it was still their first time seeing an ancient monument. The inheritance of strong cultivators could not be ignored. As long as they had a chance to gain them, their lives would change dramatically. After listening to the term ancient monument, Bai Junyu and the others were shell-shocked. What actually happened in the legends was actually appearing in front of them. This is an ancient monument. Xia Qing looked sluggish. She felt like she had been presented with a huge pie. The first time she came to the Luoyin Mountains for experience, she encountered such a good thing. Her luck was too good. Bai Junyu's eyes were also shining with incredulity. I never even in my dreams thought I would see an ancient monument someday. If I could get a relic from it, it would be huge. Cui Haoyin and Gong Shaoqing's eyes were also bright. This monument exuded an unparalleled attraction of fiery radiance. Master, things have changed. Xiao Bai's usually energetic voice was filled with seriousness. I feel a few auras rapidly approaching here. Hearing this, the color of Bailey Hong Zhuang's face also changed somewhat. The other side's atmosphere is very strong. I think these auras belong to young people, not those old monsters who have cultivated for decades. Xiao Bai thought for a moment and earnestly replied, "It seems that they're disciples of certain forces." Bailey Hong Zhuang revealed a smile. She was no stranger to this situation. Ancient monuments were places where many forces cultivated their younger generation. However, Bailey Hong Zhuang did not detect the slightest change in Di Bei Chen's expression as the people approached. Haha, I did not expect there would be an ancient monument in the remote Luoyin Mountains. A hearty and proud male voice suddenly came from the back, his tone roguish. Chapter 468, Di Bei Chen's Identity. The news of this came to me fast enough. I immediately rushed to the Luoyin Mountains when I received the news. I did not expect to arrive with you. Yinling Xian showed some regret and dejection, but from the confidence in his eyes, one could still tell that he did not care too much about this matter. How can we not know such an important news? A cheerful and sweet girl's voice rang out. You think it's so easy to take advantage of every situation. Yeah, you can't say that to me. I'd love to talk, but since everyone came here, they should be by themselves. Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others kept up their guards and saw only 4 young cultivators slowly descending from a dare. The 4 young cultivators, 2 men and 2 women, were all dressed in luxurious robes. The young faces of all shared the same arrogance and self-confidence. As the outstanding children of cultivating powers, they had been superior since their birth. This arrogance and self-confidence had long been integrated into their bones as they grew. The 4 people apparently did not think that there would be others in the center of the miasma forest. At the moment, they could not help but be stunned. Some people actually came before us. Yinling Xian's eyes flashed with suspicion. This was completely beyond his expectations. Ji Yin'er was also surprised at seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others. It was reasonable to say that it was impossible for cultivators to pass through such a strong miasma. Who are they? How have I never seen them? Ji Yin'er looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang and others in perplexity. It was reasonable to say that since they could pass through such a toxic miasma, their background would not be weak. However, she had a certain understanding of a young generation of strong powers, but had absolutely no impression of the people in front. Suddenly, Ji Yin'er's eye locked onto Di Bei Chen's body. The slightly perplexed expression instantly turned to one of shock. Di Bei Chen, Yinling Xian, and the others were still thinking of the identity of Bailey Hong Zhuang and the other people. After hearing Ji Yin'er's words, they immediately looked at Di Bei Chen. Ji Yin'er immediately walked over after determining the identity of Di Bei Chen. Her face revealed a faint hint of Hoi. How can you be here? Seeing the attitude of Ji Yin'er, Xia Qing and the others looked with strange eyes directed at Di Bei Chen. Although they did not know the identity of Ji Yin'er from their conversation, they could conclude that their background was not simple. Since they knew Di Bei-chun, it was to say Di Bei-chen's identity. I go to Sanglan College. Di Bei-chun did not act differently to Ji Yuner because of his status. His looks were still calm and natural. However, Yin Lingxian and the others listening to Di Bei-chen's words felt they were hallucinating. Are you kidding? With the brilliance of Di Bei-chun, he would attend at Sanglan College? They didn't need to look at others' expressions to know they were the same. They only thought that they were mistaken. With the identity and background of Di Bei-chun, he does not need to attend Sanglan College. It was a waste of time. Di Gongzi, I am Yin Lingxian from the Yin family. Yin Lingxian walked to the side of Di Bei-chun, his originally proud face completely overshadowed by Di Bei-chen's handsome face. Obviously, in his heart, the position of Di Bei-chun was quite high. Di Bei-chun politely nodded. Hello. Chapter 469. Wow. What is the identity of Di Bei-chun? Xiaji Qing moved closer to Bai Junyu and whispered. Bai Junyu had a slightly complicated expression on his face. I don't know, but his background is certainly not simple. Gong Xiaoqing and the others were also silent. From the change in Yin Lingxian's attitude, they could deduce a thing or two. Yin Lingxian obviously disdained them, but after seeing Di Bei-chun don't talk of disdain, he even became extremely respectful. Xiaji Qing and the others didn't know the identity of Yin Lingxian and the other three, but Fu Hong BP and Lu Huai Yin had some understanding. Yin Lingxian was the outstanding younger brother of the Yin Jia, which was a cultivator family. The Yin Jia was not like any other cultivator's family, but a real monster. That Sanglan College was extremely important in this area. However, the Yin Jia had a certain status in the entire Shengshui continent. The large gap between the two could be seen. Not only Yin Lingxian, even the identity of Ji Yuner was extraordinary. It seems that the identity of Di Bei-chun was higher than they thought. In the past, they had already known that the reason Di Bei-chun had come to the college was that of Bailey Hongzhuang. Now it seems that the position of Bailey Hongzhuang was far more important in Di Bei-chen's eyes than they thought. This understanding was based on Di Bei-chen's identity. As soon as they thought of this, they thought of Bailey Hongzhuang was the daughter of a general. Her identity was not bad. But compared to Di Bei-chun. But why, even though the two of them were separated by such a big gap, Di Bei-chun still preferred to stick to Bailey Hongzhuang. At the moment, Ji Yuner also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang standing next to Di Bei-chun, even though she was a proud daughter of her home. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, she was inevitably stunned, and from those Bailey Hongzhuang stood next to Di Bei-chun, we can see that the relationship between the two was very close. How did she not know that Di Bei-chun was so intimate with a woman? Di Gongzi, after hearing that you came back into the cultivator world, I have wanted to see you, but when I heard you were not at the sect. Seeing you here today, it is a very nice surprise. Eyes flashing with respect and a bright expectation. There was a bit of intimacy in her words. Saying that, Ji Yuner could not help but cast disdainful looks at Bailey Hongzhuang. How could the students of such a lowly college deserve this godlike person? At the moment, everyone suddenly understood the meaning of Ji Yuner. I'm afraid that Ji Yuner was quite interested in Di Bei-chun. Obviously, her attitude had clearly shown it. Everybody is very busy. Such things are not needed. Unlike the warm-heartedness of Ji Yuner, Di Bei-chun did not express even the slightest bit of joy for Ji Yuner's words, and on the contrary, had a trace of indifference. Listening to Di Bei-chen's words, Ji Yuner felt a bit awkward, but she covered it up in an instant. Master, this woman is really ambitious, even dares to grab your man. Xiao He furiously roared. There was nothing wrong with grabbing, but daring to grab the master's man. This was absolutely not allowed. Yes, this is unbearable, and it is time to swear sovereignty. Chapter 470. Di Bei-chen's past. What a joke. It was hard for the owner to get this close to Di Bei-chun. Now, this person, who came out of nowhere, wanted to take advantage and dig their master's corner. They were Xiao He and Xiao Bai. When had they ever eaten dry rice? Seeing Xiao He and Xiao Bai so angry for her, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes filled with a warm smile. Since these two little guys had acknowledged her as their master, they had been wholehearted to her. Once something happens, these two fluffballs would be more anxious than her. Although sometimes she pretended to disregard them, to be able to have these three beasts with her, she never felt lonely. Not in a hurry. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked calm and collected. In terms of feelings, she always considered waiting for a while. If the other person can easily take it away, then it is not what she wants. Moreover, she was very confident about Di Beichun. It's okay. Ji Yin'er smiled lightly. When will you return to the sect, Di Gongzi? Yanling Xian's eyes flashed with curiosity. Among the young generation of the various force, Di Beichun's position was at the absolute top. If he could have a good relationship with Di Beichun, it was naturally excellent. When my lady is ready to go with me, I will go back. When this remark was heard, Ji Yin'er, Yanling Xian, Lin Yirou, and Huang Fuhui were all shocked. Their eyes widened and they looked at Di Beichun indiscernibly. What did they just hear? Di Beichun had a wife? During this time, they had never heard the news that Di Beichun had a woman with him. All along, Di Beichun was never interested in women. With his position in the sect, I don't know how many women would throw themselves at him. However, Di Beichun had always been cold and indifferent, and was even too lazy to make even perfunctory attempts. It was because of this that there were even rumors that Di Beichun did not like women. However, as Han Xiling appeared beside Di Beichun, these rumors gradually diminished. The people who were a little familiar with Di Beichun still knew that the relationship between Di Beichun and Han Xiling was not what the outside world thought. But no one thought that Di Beichun actually had a lady. This was like a huge bomb that scared all of them. Ji Yin'er could no longer pretend to be indifferent at the beginning. She was quite familiar with Di Beichun because of the good ties between the two powers behind them. She also often had the opportunity to meet Di Beichun. She used to always regard Di Beichun as an object of her admiration. After all, the ability to have such strength at such a young age, Di Beichun was another young hero, which was indeed her ideal object of admiration. He had not even continued to stay at his sect. Although she felt sorry at the time, she did not say anything. A cultivator with crippled legs was destined to be unable to achieve much success. However, not long ago, Di Beichun suddenly reappeared. Not only had his strength not depleted, on the contrary, it had grown. Upon returning to his sect, Di Beichun had resolved everything in a resolute manner, resolved all roadblocks, and reclaimed his previous position. The news had spread quickly and shocked everyone. Chapter 471. When Di Beichun became crippled and left the sect, I do not know how many people sneered and ridiculed him. After all, Di Beichun had been standing at the top of the young cultivator's hierarchy. How many people envied him and were jealous. And after seeing Di Beichun become crippled and turn into a waste, many felt happy. However, the return of Di Beichun was no different than giving them a big slap on the face. In 3 years, not only did he not become a waste, on the contrary, he became even better. Ji Yin'er only thinks that Di Beichun had become more charming and calm than before, his every move affecting her heart. However, in the 3 years she did not see him, Di Beichun actually took a wife? Di Gongzi, I do not know who your lady is. Ji Yin'er asked with a smile. Not only Ji Yin'er, Yanling Xian and the other two were also concerned about this answer. This was a heavy news. They believed that this news, other than the four of them, no one would know. Listening to Ji Yin'er's question, Xia Zhiqing could not help but look at Bailey Hong Zhuang, who stood next to Di Beichun. Seeing the eyes of Xia Zhiqing and the others, the eyes of the three, and Ji Yin'er could not help but fall on Bailey Hong Zhuang. Could it be the person next to Di Beichun? When the four young masters had secretly conjectured, Di Beichun had already put his arm around Bailey Hong Zhuang's shoulder. She is my lady. Di Beichun looked natural, and as if it were obvious, he had always been proud of his lady. Ji Yun'er and the others' mouths opened slightly, and their usual arrogant expressions were somewhat confused. Although they had already guessed, they still felt somewhat preposterous. In the eyes of Yen Ling Xian and Huang Fu Hui, there was a flash of amazement. Earlier, they had already noticed Bailey Hong Zhuang. Such a beautiful person. The only word they could use to describe her would be alluring. If such a beauty appeared before them, even if she does not have any background, they will still want to take her home. It is just that if there was no background and family, they could not make her their wife. They believed that Di Bei-chun was definitely not a person who was confused by beauty. How had this beauty ensnared him? Di Gongzi, I don't know which family this girl belongs to. Ji Yun'er asked tentatively. When she grew up in her family, she knew very well that some people they could not afford to offend. Therefore, the most important thing to do before anything else was to understand the other person's identity. Otherwise, once you offend someone you cannot afford to offend, you can't help yourself. She is not the daughter of a cultivation family. Oh, Ji Yun'er raised her brows and looked puzzled. I didn't even hear which martial arts sect this young miss is from. Yen Ling Xian looked at her as if slowly matching her up to all the young misses in their generation. They had heard of many people, but for this person, they were really blank. I'm just a student of Tsanglan College, Bailey Hong Zhuang said slowly. From the performance of Ji Yun'er, she already knew the idea of Ji Yun'er. Since they want to know her identity, she did not mind directly telling them. With the voice of Bailey Hong Zhuang falling, the eyes of the four people changed for a few moments. Although their hearts were full of hundreds of thought, they suspected that Bailey Hong Zhuang was not cheating them. In the end, they believed the words of Bailey Hong Zhuang, because Bailey Hong Zhuang would gain nothing from deceiving them. Chapter 472, A Commoner. Di Gongzi, she is just a commoner. Why did you take her as your wife? Ji Yun'er chuckled, and her eyes looking at Bailey Hong Zhuang, which originally displayed caution, now displayed mockery and disdain. She was previously worried, but this woman in front of her was nothing more than the grass underneath that could not pose any threat to her. This kind of woman, even if Di Bei-chun truly liked her, it was only based on beauty. Nothing could ever make her Di Bei-chun's true wife. As long as she killed Bailey Hong Zhuang, then Di Bei-chun would be single. Xia Zhiqing frowned and had been drawing closer to Di Bei-chun since Ji Yun'er appeared. She looked very upset. Even now, Ji Yun'er dared to look down at Hong Zhuang. It was too much. Hong Zhuang is not a commoner. She is the daughter of a general. Xia Zhiqing blurted out. However, Ji Yun'er's smile on her face only grew deeper and was infected with a touch of irony. A general's daughter? Ha! What is the difference in status between that and a commoner? Isn't she simply a civilian? Ji Yun'er's face was filled with mockery. In this vast world, did the daughter of a general still count? Nothing exists in their eyes. Even the emperor can't count. How did you talk to her? Xia Zhiqing was furious. You kneel. The next moment, Ji Yun'er's face was gloomy, her eyes filled with rage. What did you say? Feeling the thick murderous intent of Ji Yun'er, Xia Zhiqing's face also changed a bit. She knew clearly that she could not compare with Ji Yun'er or her background. It may even be that her words could bring infinite disaster to her family. However, Xia Zhiqing's expression eventually became firm. How could she bear it when Ji Yun'er insulted Hong Zhuang like this? When Xia Zhiqing was ready to retort, Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly said, I am a commoner, but aren't you two nothing if not for your family? Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head slightly, her face calm despite Ji Yun'er's words, not showing the slightest tension, and instead displayed contempt for Ji Yun'er. As the young head of an aristocratic family in the past, she had not only seen many such things, but also learned many lessons. How could she be afraid of Ji Yun'er? Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang dared to take initiative to make trouble, Ji Yun'er's eyes became gloomier, and the light of spite and rage constantly flashed through. You can't say the grapes are sour without tasting them. I was born with a status and am bound to be stronger than you. Yen Ling Xian didn't say anything. They all knew that Ji Yuner had always had ideas on Bei Chun, not to mention after knowing the status of Bailey Hong Zhuang. They also understood that Bailey Hong Zhuang was just a temporary flame. If Ji Yuner wanted, it wouldn't take much to have Bailey Hong Zhuang completely disappear from this world. You are really too much. Xia Jiqing could not help but shout. She had seen many hateful women, but this Ji Yuner was the worst. Bai Junyu patted Xia Jiqing's shoulder before whispering, "You don't worry. Bailey Hong Zhuang is not one to be bullied. Not to mention Bei Chun will not let Bailey Hong Zhuang be bullied." He knew Bailey Hong Zhuang. Although not for a long time, he had personally witnessed how those who offended her were punished. Chapter 473, Admirable Shamelessness. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo's brows wrinkled. This Ji Yuner was full of unpleasant words and sentences. However, it was now apparent that this was a battle between two women for a man's attention. If they were to interfere, it would be inappropriate. Lu Qinyu's gaze was very complicated. From the words of the two teachers just now, she already knew the identity of Ji Yuner and Yin Lingxian. As a talented alchemist, the scope of her exposure was even wider than that of ordinary cultivators. Therefore, she knows what kind of status Bei Chun had. However, Bei Chun was determined to be with Bailey Hong Zhuang. Even when he talked about her, it would be with pride. Not many men would do it. As a woman, she was sensitive to feelings. From the performance of Ji Yuner, it was obvious that she had some thoughts on Bei Chun, but Bei Chun was not interested in Ji Yuner or her background. Instead, he wanted to follow Bailey Hong Zhuang every day. As soon as she thought of this, her heart was envious. Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu looked at each other, both of them showing extreme disgust for Ji Yuner. This woman, even if all the women under the sun were dead, they would still not be willing to like her. The vision of Bei Chun was excellent. Through this scene, they already understood the difference in status between Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang, but they did not think that Bailey Hong Zhuang was unworthy of Bei Chun. On the contrary, with the ability of Bailey Hong Zhuang so far, it was impossible to believe that she was an ordinary woman. With her amazing medical technique and the long-lost art of acupuncture, once the news of this spread, it is unknown how many forces would scramble to bring Bailey Hong Zhuang over to their side. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curved slightly, her exquisitely beautiful face expressing an enchanting and charming smile. She suddenly took Bei Chun's hand and nestled herself against his shoulder. "You can't say the grapes are sour without tasting them. It's exactly as you said." Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and blinked slowly. She was mocking her by copying her words. Ji Yuner wanted to humiliate her. She had to go back and practice for a few hundred years first. Sure enough, as soon as Bailey Hong Zhuang said that, Ji Yuner's face became ugly to the extreme. The same sentence from Bailey Hong Zhuang's mouth was extremely ironic, but she did not know what to say to refute. Bei Chun's eyes flashed with brilliance. His lady was extraordinary. She did not feel the slightest bit pressured when facing Ji Yuner. The most important thing was that his wifey has made such an intimate gesture for the first time. He had to thank Ji Yuner for that. "You are just shameless." Bailey Hong Zhuang's head bent slightly, her delicate chin raised, still smiling, but her dark eyes were flashing with coldness like that of a perpetually frozen mountain. "I am shameless." Bailey Hong Zhuang laughed. "This Miss's ability for shamelessness makes me admire." Bailey Hong Zhuang suddenly took a step forwards, narrowing the distance between her and Ji Yuner, her face becoming more and more sharp and ruthless. "In front of me, seducing my husband and then daring to say, 'I am shameless.'" Chapter 474, Not Worth It. I didn't know cultivation family cultivated such excellent children. The irony in Bailey Hong Zhuang's last sentence was extreme. Her face was arrogant, and not the slightest bit pressured, almost like she did not care for this matter at all. Bai Junyu and the others secretly thought to fight against Bailey Hong Zhuang was a very bad idea. So far, They had never seen Bailey Hong Zhuang suffer a loss in a verbal fight. Ji Yuner really had dug herself a pit. Yin Ling Xian and the other two were also happy, although they were familiar with Ji Yuner. As the outstanding young generation of different forces, there was a lot of competition between them. It would be unnatural if their relationship was too good. If Ji Yuner really wanted to get together with Di Beichun, why should they worry about that? There was no conflict of interest between them and Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichun. They don't have to make unnecessary trouble. Usually, Ji Yuner is very domineering. I did not expect for her to be defeated. This is really interesting. Lin Yiro laughed lightly. She had a completely different character from Ji Yuner and preferred to be more down-to-earth compared to her peers. Now that she has seen Ji Yuner eat a loss, she was also very happy. Yin Ling Xian smiled and nodded. I don't think this Bailey Hong Zhuang is an ordinary person. How else would she have the courage to fight with Ji Yuner? I don't mind seeing a good show anyway. With both his hands folded over his chest, he sounded careless and indifferent. Ji Yuner's eyes were full of resentment. This Bailey Hong Zhuang, she would remember her. By the end of this expedition, she would certainly take Bailey Hong Zhuang's life. You simply do not deserve to be the wife of Di Gongzi. Ji Yuner hid her previous expression, but her face was still black. I'm not worth him. You can match? Compared to Ji Yuner, Bailey Hong Zhuang's expression was tranquil like the clouds. Even in the face of Ji Yuner's mocking words, she would reply calmly. Taking advantage of the friction between the two people, the others could not help but think secretly in their hearts that Bailey Hong Zhuang was actually a lot better than that Ji Yuner. If other women heard Ji Yuner's taunts, I'm afraid they could no longer stand it, but Bailey Hong Zhuang simply did not put her in her eyes. From this point alone, Bailey Hong Zhuang was very different from other women. Miss Ji, I will advise you something. Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips arched slightly. Her face looked harmless and full of goodwill. If a woman rushes to throw herself onto others, she's not worth it. After this, everyone was speechless. After hearing this, many could not help but give her thumbs up. Awesome. She was so domineering. She first fought with Miss Ji, and now told her she was worthless. This was the first time Ji Yuner faced such humiliation. However, they thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang's words were very reasonable. Xia Zhiqing couldn't help but chuckle. Hong Zhuang was great. This retort was awesome and very domineering. She liked to see what Ji Yuner could say. Xiao Bai, Xiao He, and Bai Shi were very proud. Their owner's corner was so easy to dig. Chapter 475, Becoming Angry. You're looking for death. Hearing such offensive words from Bailey Hong Zhuang, Ji Yuner finally became angry. From when she was small to now, no one had dared to talk to her in this tone. As for being called worthless, it was even more impossible. However, at this moment, she was actually being insulted by this commoner who should be kneeling down and letting everyone see a joke. How could she accept it? The next moment, a faint red glow emerged from Ji Yuner's body and hands. Seeing this faint red light, Xia Zhiqing and the others could not help but be slightly shocked. Hong Zhuang. This light can only be possessed by someone who is a Hong, red, boundary cultivator. Cui Haoyan exclaimed, his eyes full of disbelief. The cultivation realm was divided into the acquired realm and congenital realm, both of which were distinct levels. Most cultivators could only achieve the acquired realm as long as they worked hard. However, only the congenital realm was the path to becoming a real cultivator. After the cultivators entered the congenital realm, their yuan li would change with their advancement in the realm. The congenital realm was divided into the Hong, red, border, Chung, orange, border, Huang, yellow, border, Lu, green, border, Lan, blue, border, and Z, purple border. And each level displayed its own special light. Each boundary was further subdivided into 9 levels. The higher the level, the richer the color. Although the light glowing from Ji Yuner's hands was very faint, the red light couldn't escape everyone's attention. Obviously, Ji Yuner had already reached the first level of Hong, red boundary. Previously Gong, Xiaoqing, and the others were disrespectful to Ji Yuner. At this moment, they were shocked knowing her strength. The age of Ji Yuner was only 16 or 17, but her strength was actually at the first level of the Hong red boundary. They had a really big gap between them. Even if they already knew that the strength of cultivators from a cultivating family would far exceed that of normal cultivators, they would not be able to imagine this gap without personally seeing it. After all, they were also considered to be very talented cultivators. As special enrollment student of Tsanglan College, they had always been proud. However, at this moment, they knew how big the gap between them was. As time went on, the gap between their strength and the children of these families would only grow bigger. If they did not have a huge chance, a huge gap would eventually arise between them. After all, the children of cultivation families had rich resources for cultivation, and even if they weren't talented, they could turn into proud geniuses just with the help of the countless cultivation resources. This was the real difference between ordinary cultivators and those belonging to a cultivation family. The family's children had unlimited resources for cultivation since they were born, but they needed to find opportunities for the same. Bai Junyu and the others showed expressions of shock. At the same time, Ji Yuner felt more and more that they were simply a group of unfamiliar simpletons. She moved very fast and did not hesitate to move against Bailey Hongzhuang. The one whose face she couldn't stand any longer was her. Obviously, her family status was far stronger than Bailey Hongzhuang's. But why did that Bailey Hongzhuang act like she was better than her? It was really hateful. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was icy, and a sliver of light flashed between her fingers. She knows that with her strength, she was not Ji Yuner's adversary, but it did not mean she was completely helpless against her. When Ji Yuner's attack was about to hit Bailey Hongzhuang's body, Bei Chun directly blocked her attack. Just a small move, and Ji Yuner's bloodthirsty aura became invisible as it dissipated in an instant. His tremendous strength made Ji Yuner go back a few steps. Looking at Bei Chun, she revealed a bit of surprise. Ji Yuner, if you dare to go against my wife in the slightest, the consequences of that will be your own to bear. Bei Chun's lips were pressed together, his cold voice filled with icy warning. That handsome face, not the slightest bit soft. If it was only a verbal fight, how good his own wife was, he had always been very clear. Besides, if it wasn't the case, how could Bailey Hongzhuang be recognized as his wife? Others may not know, but he knew the pride that his wife had, so he had stood by without talking. However, once Ji Yuner attacked, the situation became completely different. Whoever dares to harm his wife, he will not forgive them. Hearing his words, Ji Yuner's heart suffered a shock. There were years of friendship between her and Bei Chun. Now, for such an ordinary person, he dared to say such things to her? Di Gongzi, how can you do this to me? Ji Yuner's eyes flashed with incredulity. Bei Chun was actually ignoring years of friendship. Miss Ji, from the beginning to the end, my wife was just doing what she should do. Bei Chun's hands held Bailey Hongzhuang's, and the protective intent behind it was clear. Since Hongzhuang is my wife, she is naturally one of my people. Whoever dares to go against her is against me. Bei Chun's words were firm and decisive, without the slightest bit of hesitation. Obviously, he would stand by this no matter what. In past 3 years, he had experienced a lot of things. The ones that he cares about absolutely can't be bullied by anyone. Yanling Xian and the others were speechless. It seemed that they had still underestimated the degree to which Bei Chun cared for Bailey Hongzhuang. Especially, Yanling Xian and Huang Fu Hui felt even more clear about this. As men, the significance of Bei Chun's remark was obvious to them. Previously, they had only felt that Bei Chun had liked Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance. Now, it seemed like he really did like her. These children from various forces had a very calculative nature, and they had been calculating for their interests since the beginning. If something did not meet their interest, they will never do it. The only thing that allows them to abandon their interest is none other than true feelings. Bei Chun's current attitude proved everything. Great. Xiao Hei patted his hands. I didn't misread Di Bei-chun. This woman still counts as something? Our master has only cultivated for a year, but this woman has been cultivating for more than 10 years. Huh! Xiao Bai shrieked. What genius! Their master was the well-deserved genius. We should kill her. Baisher's face was cold. How dare she try to kill their master? Ji Yinner's face was blank and timid. Di Bei-chen's remarks gave her no room to speak at all. It was just that her inner heart couldn't help but continue shouting at her like crazy. She knew both her strength and family background were stronger than Bailey Hong Zhuang's. Yet her Di Gongzi protected Bailey Hong Zhuang so fiercely. Where does she have any face left? So what about Han Shiling? Ji Yinner asked. If Han Shiling were to also go against Bailey Hong Zhuang, you'll fight with Han Shiling her too? Ji Yinner's grim face was full of envy. Since Di Bei-chun had already made her lose face, she does not mind adding oil to the fire. No matter what, she wouldn't let Bailey Hong Zhuang continue to be so proud. When this remark was heard, the atmosphere turned momentarily tense. Xia Zhiqing and the others groaned in disbelief at Ji Yinner and Di Bei-chun. They simply didn't understand what Ji Yinner's words meant. Who is Han Shiling? The faces of Yinling Xian and the others had also become wonderful. It was well known that before the appearance of Bailey Hong Zhuang, Han Shiling was the only woman who had a close relationship with Di Bei-chun. They were really curious about how Di Bei-chun would choose between the two. Di Bei-chun's aura became cloying, handsome face even more chilly. The look that he gave Ji Yinner was without the slightest feeling, but he did not answer. Observing the changes in Di Bei-chun's look, doubts appeared in Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes. Han Shiling, this was her first time hearing her name, is it not that? What is the story between Di Bei-chun and Han Shiling? At the moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang felt somewhat insecure, and an unknown emotion spread. Her mood became low. At the moment, a melodious and laughing voice began to sound in midair. I seem to hear everyone talking about me. The crowd could not help but look up in the air and see a young woman garbed in a green dress, sitting on a blue lotus. Above the lotus, her hair flowed and the clothes gently fluttered. Her beautiful and water-like face was accompanied with a shallow smile. Just like the lotus that she sat on, her whole person exuded the elegance like that of a lotus. Compared to the disdainful Ji Yinner, the lotus-like woman looked really warm. At the first glance, she gave a sense of comfort. Although her appearance was not comparable to Bailey Hong Zhuang, her temperament was enough to make her equally as charming. Miss Han, I did not think you would have come. Yinling Xian quickly greeted and put away his attitude to appear elegant and playful. There was no lack of appreciation in his eyes. Han Shiling was very famous among the younger generation of cultivators. There were numerous men who pursued her, but Han Shiling had never been interested in other men except for Di Bei-chun. Han Shiling smiled faintly. Di Dage is here. Naturally, I wanted to come too. Saying this, Han Shiling's eyes had sought out Di Bei-chun. The intimacy in her words was undoubtedly evident. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at Han Shiling, who walked slowly towards Di Bei-chun, and found her temperament to be very good. From the attitude of Yinling Xian and the others, everyone could see that the relationship between Han Shiling and Di Bei-chun was not simple. Sure enough, there was a story between the two. The look in Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes changed gradually. Di Bei-chun's quietness made her heart even more unsure. Ji Yinner had said Han Shiling's name under such circumstances. Obviously, Han Shiling had a high status in Di Bei-chun's eyes. Moreover, so many people were aware of the relationship between Han Shiling and Di Bei-chun. It was obvious this was a well-known thing. At the thought of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang couldn't help but step back and widen the distance between her and Di Bei-chun. Regardless of how others provoked, she would not care about a half-bit. She only cared about Di Bei-chun's attitude. If Di Bei-chun himself no longer said anything, what could she say? Feeling Bailey Hong Zhuang's actions, Di Bei Chun turned his head to look at her. His eyes were filled with firmness, and he once again came close to Bailey Hong Zhuang. Di Bei Chun's actions did not escape everyone's attention, and the eyes of Ji Yun'er and the others were filled with horror. In the face of Han Shiling, Di Bei Chun still stood so close beside Bailey Hong Zhuang. It could be seen that in Di Bei Chun's heart, the status of Bailey Hong Zhuang was even stronger than that of Han Shiling. As soon as they thought of this, everyone had a feeling of incredibility. What sacred place did Bailey Hong Zhuang hold? How could she make Di Bei Chun care, even lesser, for Han Shiling? Han Shiling did not see these things, and her face still had an elegant smile as she slowly walked to Di Bei Chun's side. Dage, I guess you would be here after listening to the news about Luoyun Mountains. You really are here. Zhan Shiling smiled lightly. Faster. The sound of footsteps entered everyone's ears, and a large number of cultivators were approaching the center. Our people are coming. Di Bei Chun smiled lightly. There must be a lot of people, but they were the first to come. Others were still in the rear. Master, Mississippi. Sure enough, a respectful voice came from the rear. These were the people of various families. Ji Yun'er looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with a provocative look. This was the power of her family. You must first find a place to rest. Yes. Not only Ji family, the other 3 families had also settled in the sidelines. All of them were curious about the ancient monument. I recently happened to be near this place, so after hearing the news, I rushed here. The people of the sect will arrive later. Han Shiling smiled and looked at Di Bei Chun. From beginning to end, her eyes did not fall on Bailey Hong Zhuang. It was like she was not even there. Di Bei Chun nodded slightly. You have traveled long. You should rest first. Han Shiling's lips rose slightly. Dage, when are you coming back to the sect? You are not there, but many people are thinking about you. I will not go back. Di Bei Chun replied. Han Shiling's face gently wrinkled. Since you are not at the sect, I'm alone. You must come back early. Han Shiling's words showed their intimacy. Everyone listened to Han Shiling, and the appearance of Han Shiling and Di Bei Chun became ambiguous in their sight. Who is this Han Shiling? How is she so close to Di Bei Chun? Xia Jiqing had seen with her own eyes how Di Bei Chun simply did not care for other women besides Hong Zhuang. However, this woman who had suddenly appeared was also an exception. After listening to them, Han Shiling should be in the same sect as Di Bei Chun. By June, you said slowly. Suddenly, there were so many cultivators, this situation had undoubtedly taken a curve for the bad. Not to mention all of them were more powerful. They also had strong families backing them. Bye-bye. Why do I think that this woman is even more annoying than Ji Yun'er? Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with displeasure. Ji Yun'er was undoubtedly very annoying, ugly, and overly talkative. From the beginning to the end, Han Shiling had never said any harsh words, but it looked more uncomfortable. This woman is simply ignoring Master. Xiao Bai's face was ugly. This woman was not as good as she seemed. She was acting as if their master didn't exist. Listening to Xiao Bai's words, Xiao Hei understood his dislike. Yes, that's it. They were wondering why Han Shiling made them so uncomfortable. So, the original problem was this. Baisher's eyes were slightly angry. The number of pesky guys he met today was really a lot. He hated Ji Yun'er. This Han Shiling was even more annoying. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferent. From the first look at Han Shiling, she knew that this woman was not the embodiment of an elegant lotus, but the arrogance in her bones made her look down on most people. It was because of this arrogance that she had been ignored, but naturally, she too was indifferent. This kind of temperament was not uncommon in arrogant women. Obviously, there was still a certain gap between the identity of Ji Yun'er and Han Shiling. It was precisely because of this that they had been so uncomfortable of Ji Yun'er and Han Shiling. They were contemptuous. Since this was a reconciliation between Han Shiling and Di Bei Chun, it was meaningless for her to stand next to them. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang stepped away slightly. However, as soon as Bailey Hong Zhuang took a step, Di Bei Chun suddenly pulled her and prevented her from leaving. Bailey Hong Zhuang frowned, looking at Di Bei Chun with slight puzzlement, but Di Bei Chun was smiling at her. I came here this time to see people I miss, Di Bei Chun slowly said. After Han Xiling, who had originally been indifferent to Bailey Hong Zhuang, heard Di Bei Chun's words, a touch of color could not help but surface on her calm face. Who did you want to see? Di Bei Chun nodded slightly and pulled Bailey Hong Zhuang to his side. He smiled slightly. This is my wifey, Bailey Hong Zhuang. Han Xiling's eyes flashed with a hint of haze. She had not expected that in such circumstances, Di Bei Chun would even emphasize the identity of Bailey Hong Zhuang. However, Han Xiling's face remained calm, only looking faintly at Bailey Hong Zhuang. Wifey, this is my shimmy, Han Xiling. Di Bei Chun looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang by his side tenderly. The distance between him and his lady was hard to bridge. He wouldn't like it if things returned to the way they were originally. Ji Yun'er's eyes widened. What? Even in front of Han Xiling's face, Di Bei Chun is still saying that. In my opinion, Di Bei Chun really likes Bailey Hong Zhuang. Lin Yiro laughed gently. Han Xiling is naturally flawless, but not necessarily so in the eyes of lovers. Besides, don't you think both Bailey Hong Zhuang's looks and temperament are better than Han Xiling's? After hearing these words, the faces of the other three, even Ji Yun'er's, changed. They had to admit that it was a fact. If Bailey Hong Zhuang had not said she was a commoner, who would dare to belittle her on seeing her appearance and temperament? This Bailey Hong Zhuang can't be an ordinary person. Huang Fu Hui said indifferently, his mouth just the slightest bit curved in laughter. The appearance is beautiful, and her temperament is natural. Ordinary people can't have such a temperament. Lin Yiro nodded slightly. The thoughts of Huang Fu Hui were the same as hers. Any ordinary person wouldn't have the courage to confront them at all, much less make Ji Yun'er suffer. With what Di Bei Chun had achieved today, his vision will naturally not be bad. Bailey Hong Zhuang's heart, which had been turbulent earlier, settled down at hearing Di Bei Chun's words. She did not know what exactly happened between Di Bei Chun and Han Xiling, but since Di Bei Chun dared to introduce her in this way, it proved that the two of them were still not that intimate. Hello. Han Xiling took the lead, and although her tone was warm, her eyes shone with complex emotions. Hello. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferent, but she did not ignore the look of cold, sword-like emotion in Han Xiling's eyes. This Han Xiling was definitely not a good person. Therefore, this elegant, lotus-like temperament was probably hot and spicy in reality. However, she had never been afraid of threats. The two women stood face to face, and although they spoke politely, anyone could feel the frozen atmosphere between them. Xia Zhiqing and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Regardless of who this Han Xiling was, at least Di Bei Chun had made his attitude very clear. As a result, they could also rest assured. The monument is about to come up. Let's take a rest. Di Bei Chun whispered faintly, and after smiling at Han Xiling, he took Bailey Hong Zhuang's hand in his and walked back to the team. Han Xiling's eyes were fixed onto the entwined hands of Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. She had known Dage for so many years. Dage had never been this close to other women and had never left her alone. Now, with the appearance of this woman, all this has changed. Yin Ling Xian and the others looked at each other silently. Today's show was wonderful. The ugly face of Ji Yun'er was very satisfying to look at that moment. Since even Han Xiling had tasted a sour lemon, what more she? Bailey Hong Zhuang sat on the ground, while Di Bei Chun sat beside her. She didn't express any facial expression and remained silent. Di Bei Chun looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang's expression. He understood and feared that the incident just now made Bailey Hong Zhuang feel rather unpleasant. So he had to explain to her. Lady, don't misunderstand me. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows rose. Misunderstanding? So many people were watching, but Di Bei Chun actually said it was a misunderstanding. Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang was displeased, Di Bei Chun hurried up but the next second, Bei Chen's eyes were suddenly filled with a deep smile. Bailey Hong Zhuang's beautiful face and eyebrows wrinkled slightly. At such a time, Bei Chen was actually laughing at her. "Why are you laughing while looking at me?" Bailey Hong Zhuang said coldly. Bei Chen grinned as he chuckled. "Wifey, are you jealous?" His voice fell, and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at him blankly. Was she jealous? Haha, jealous. Xiao Hei snickered. Master looked like this while jealous? Of course, this kind of expression they had never seen before. "I am not." Yu, upon hearing this, Bei Chen did not tease Bailey Hong Zhuang any longer. Instead, he only held her hand and slowly told her his story. "I have lived in a martial arts sect since I was a child. Master had brought me with him. Han Xiling is the granddaughter of one of the great elders and has grown up with me since childhood. So, our relationship is very good. You shouldn't think about this too much. Han Xiling is just a shimmy. I only think of her as a sister. As for love between men and women, I only have you in my heart." Bei Chen gazed at Bailey Hong Zhuang, eyes filled with seriousness and affection. He had never had true feelings for a woman until after he had seen Bailey Hong Zhuang. This was the first time he had had such a feeling. Until now, he had been considered a cripple. If not for him suddenly becoming a cripple, why would he have come from his sect to the Fengbo country? For 3 years of forbearance in his life, he was once hateful and full of grief, but now he felt that this was all for the best. The 3 years of being a cripple had made him see the true features of many people around him, making his original arrogance wane and become more mature and tough. The most important thing is that while he was gone, Bailey Hong Zhuang appeared by his side. Perhaps this had all been predestined by the heavens. He could stand again because of Hong Zhuang, and she also became his wife by chance. He thanked God for all this and wanted to protect his Bailey Hong Zhuang. Listening to Bei Chen, Bailey Hong Zhuang's mood gradually became better. She believed in Bei Chen's words. If Bei Chen had liked Han Xiling in his heart, he would never have pursued her. "Do you believe me, lady?" Bei Chen asked seriously as he looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang licked her lips, and her eyes became more alluring. Although she had never spoken, Bei Chen already understood everything. "Lady, do you want to know my story?" He had never said it before, not because he did not want to say, but because he thought Bailey Hong Zhuang would not be willing to listen. Now that the relationship between them had gone a step further, he felt that Bailey Hong Zhuang should know a little more about him. This would help to avoid a lot of misunderstandings. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. "What kind of life did you have in the past?" Bei Chen slowly turned to look in front, appearing a bit distant and various emotions wafting off him. From Bei Chen's narrative, Bailey Hong Zong understood his identity. Originally, Bei Chen had been a disciple of Tiangang Zone, and his master was none other than the sovereign of Tiangang Zone. His master had no children in his life, so he always treated Bei Chen as his son and only taught him as a disciple in his entire life. Bei Chen's talent was also very outstanding. Since he first started cultivating, his master had never been disappointed. In the dark, everyone regarded Bei Chen as the successor of Tiangang Zone. In the sect, there were 4 elders in addition to the sovereign. Each elder had their own prided disciple. Since Tiangang Zone had been established, there had been a custom. The position of young suzerain would be selected from among the disciple of the patriarch and the 4 elders' disciples. The one who was the strongest would be the young suzerain. This approach was to avoid more competition and making the successor or motivated. It was only through competition that the strongest person could be born. This was also a good way for a sect to remain strong. A few years ago, his master had left Tiangang Zone to achieve a breakthrough. This was quite normal. Not only his master, but also elders of other sects and the patriarchs of some families would go out to seek an opportunity for a breakthrough. It was not a simple matter and could take a lot of time. After his master left for a period of time, the problem in Bei Chen's legs appeared, and other competitors wanted to take this opportunity to make quick work of him. Originally, he had been able to resist, until he could not stand up anymore. There were then fewer and fewer supporters in the sect. In these 3 years of forbearance, he had always disguised himself as a waste. In fact, he had ever given up. It was precisely because of this that his status as a prince had been sealed by Xianyuan Yutian. As for being his illegitimate child, that was entirely nonsense. In his 3 years of durance, Xianyuan Huan and the others had harassed him all the time, but he had always forborne, not for others, but because someone had been watching his every move. Once he showed his abilities, there would be people who would seek him out. Among the sect, no one dared to deal with him so openly, but after he came to the Fengbo country, they had more chances to do so. Since he was able to stand again, he returned to the sect. As long as he was not a useless cripple, he was still the successor. In the past, he was recognized as the young suzerain of Tiangang Zone. Although there were many things that happened afterward, as long as he was able to stand again, he would not have any difficulty returning to his previous position. Even till date, his master had not returned, but Di Beichen still returned to his original position. However, this time when he was back at Tiangang Zone, his feelings were completely different from the past. He had lived in Tiangang Zone since childhood and had a lot of friends. However, since he became a crippled person with no future, his friends not only did not help him, on the contrary, many of them stomped on him. Therefore, he now felt that he had benefited greatly from this 3 years of change. If not for this opportunity presenting itself and revealing the true nature of those around him, he would not have known there were so many con men around. As for Ji Yun'er, he had never said anything to her. Even though he was not that close to Ji Yun'er, they had been friends for many years. He had maintained a polite conduct, but Ji Yun'er had already expressed her love. 3 years ago, when he was crippled, Ji Yun'er never said another word to him. Why should he bother with such a woman? After listening to Di Beichen, Bailey Hong Zhuang felt a trace of distress. Although Di Beichen said it so simply, she understood exactly what kind of state he was in these past 3 years. There was not much difference with being ostracized. From a genius everyone looked up to, he had become the waste everyone trampled on. If his mental fortitude was not strong enough, he would really have been finished. Then Han Xiling, wisdom flashed through Bailey Hong Zhuang's beautiful eyes. Didn't she give up on you in these 3 years? Di Beichen looked deeply at Bailey Hong Zhuang, not concealing anything. Yes, Han Xiling had been secretly helping me these past 3 years. If not, my life would have been worse. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded. She understood the attitude Di Beichen had toward Han Xiling was with reason. Under such circumstances, Han Xiling had never given up on him. This kind of friendship was hard to find, and anyone with blood and flesh would not turn a blind eye to it. After thinking about it, Di Beichen already knew of Han Xiling's feelings for him. He just did not want to hurt her. I understand, Bailey Hong Zhuang said slowly. Believe me, I will deal with this matter. Di Beichen's eyes flashed with earnesty. He grew up with Han Xiling. He was not willing to destroy the sentiment between them, but he was even more unwilling to hurt Bailey Hong Zhuang, because Bailey Hong Zhuang was his most important person. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled slightly. I believe in you. She didn't care about others. What she cared about was what Di Beichen felt in his heart. As for others, they were not important. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang, Di Beichen felt relieved. What he was most worried about was Bailey Hong Zhuang's response to this matter. Fortunately, Bailey Hong Zhuang was not displeased. He really should be looking for a time to solve this problem. He had always been a direct person. He was never one to drag his feet, and he was not willing to delay Han Xiling. Oh, Dage, I have something to say to you. After Han Xiling saw Di Beichen with Bailey Hong Zhuang, talking with him so intimately, a trace of chill appeared on her elegant face. She didn't know who this woman was, but as long as she dared to steal her big brother, she would not forgive her. Di Beichen looked at Han Xiling, who had appeared suddenly before him. He pondered for a moment and nodded. Okay. Elegantly getting up, Di Beichen said to Bailey Hong Zhuang, Wifey, I'll be back in a moment. You go. Bailey Hong Zhuang gave a light smile. Han Xiling saw the complex and unfathomable look of Bailey Hong Zhuang, and then led Di Bei Chun some distance away. Upon seeing this, Xia Qing went to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side. There was a bit of anxiety on her face. Hong Zhuang, can you rest assured nothing will happen between the two? Nothing will happen. With a smile, she replied, looking calm and unruffled. This Han Xiling likes Di Bei Chun. She's your great rival. Ah, how can you be so calm? Di Bei Chun is your husband. You must not allow others to snatch. Although Han 11 Ling camouflages very successfully, she cannot escape my eyes. She is definitely a white lotus. Xia Qing said determinedly. She had been very confident of her own eyes. Taking advantage of Xia Qing's uneven expression, the smile on Bailey Hong Zhuang's face gradually deepened, and there was a hint of a warmth in her heart. Ji Qing, thank you. I'm your good friend. Naturally, I'm on your side, said Xia Qing. But can you really be so clam? I think his Han Xiling is an enemy. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and shook her head. If he were to be snatched so easily, what qualification does he have to be my Bailey Hong Zhuang's man? She had always been indiscriminate. If Di Bei Chun was really taken away, then she would only thank Han Xiling. The man that she, Bailey Hong Zhuang, was with must only have her in his eyes. This is what she wants. Han Xiling was proud, but Bailey Hong Zhuang's arrogance was not any less than hers. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang, Xia Qing could not help but give her a thumbs up. You're right about that. I support you. She really didn't think that Bailey Hong Zhuang's heart was so strong, but thinking about it, what she said was true. With how amazing Bailey Hong Zhuang was, she would not be able to find a man, but I still believe Di Bei Chun is sincere to you. Xia Qing grinned. He said that you were his lady right in Han Xiling's face. It is clear that he is innocent. In my opinion, Di Bei Chun may have already broken her heart now. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled, but she looked in the distance. This Han Xiling was not a good person. In the woods, Han Xiling and Di Bei Chun stood opposite each other. Dage, you only re-established your position in the sect and then left immediately. This is very unfavorable to your status. Han Xiling slowly uttered her thoughts, and there was no lack of concern in her words. It's fine as long as I'm no longer a crippled person who can't even stand up. They can't do anything to me again. Di Bei Chun looked carefree. In 3 years, he had enough thoughts to clear up many things. Things that were important to him then were no longer important. But without hearing Han Xiling speak, Di Bei Chun had already interrupted her. I don't have more to say. I have already decided. So, have you really decided to be with that girl? She is nothing more than a commoner. There is an inseparable gap between you and her, the daughter of an ordinary general. There is no match at all. At the moment, Han Xiling no longer concealed her inner thoughts. She could not believe that Di Bei Chun would like such an ordinary girl. What matches, what is not matches? Di Bei Chun asked. In my heart, she is the best. No one could understand the status of Bailey Hong Zhuang in his mind. For more than 10 years, he had never felt his heart beat for any other woman, but he had been impressed the very first moment he saw Bailey Hong Zhuang. Such a woman, with her tenacity, hard work, and decisiveness, had clearly left an impression on him. He had never had any sentiments for her before, but then she was even willing to cure him. So far, he felt that the only thing Xianyuan Yutian did correctly as for him and Bailey Hong Zhuang to marry. In fact, even if Xianyuan Yutian had not given them a marriage, he would still try his best to make Bailey Hong Zhuang his wife, because he had her in his heart. Once Bailey Hong Zhuang was there in his heart, no one could replace her position. She was the best in his heart. Seeing Di Bei Chun so determined, Han 11 Ling's face became even uglier. When the sovereign returns, even he will not agree with you. Di Bei Chun shook his head. I believe that Master will support my decisions. Just when Di Bei Chun was ready to leave, Han Xiling suddenly spoke up. Well, I do. Di Bei Chun's stature stiffened as he slowly turned around. Dage, You know my feelings for you. Can I compare to Bailey Hong Zhuang in your heart? Han Xiling asked. Since she was a child, she had always loved Di Bei-chun as a family. For many years, although Di Bei-chun had never said anything to her, Di Bei-chun had also never been with any other women. Therefore, she believed that as long as she was beside Di Bei-chun would love her. Now that Di Bei-chun had only left for 3 years, all this had changed. Is it that her companionship of more than 10 years with Di Bei-chun was not as good as Bailey Hong Zhuang? Xiling, I have always thought of you as my sister. You know it. Di Bei-chun's words were low and serious. The person I love is Bailey Hong Zhuang. This is a completely different feeling. As soon as those words came out, Han Xiling's face became pale and she felt injured. She could hardly believe that Di Bei-chun would say such words to her in such a decisive manner. I don't want to delay you. Xiling, you will always be my sister. As for your feelings, I can't reciprocate them. Di Bei-chun said earnestly. He did not want to be vague about this matter, otherwise he would be unfair to Bailey Hong Zhuang and unfair to Han Xiling. He only wanted to be with Bailey Hong Zhuang and protest her. He did not want to see her unhappy at all. Dage, I have liked you for so many years, but now you reject me so simply. Is it that you no longer care for me? Han Xiling looked wounded. Her 2 eyes were faintly covered with the crystalline sheen of tears. It is not that I don't care for you. I will not return to the sect during this time. It will be good for you. Di Bei-chun had no changes in his attitude despite Han Xiling's tears. He understood that being afraid to hurt her would be being cruel to himself. Only an unyielding attitude would completely break down Han Xiling's thoughts. After Han Xiling recovered, they may be able to go back to being brother and sister. As his voice fell, Di Bei-chun no longer said anything, but he turned and walked away. For Han Xiling, he apologized, but he could not do more. Any words of comfort would be like knives instead. Han Xiling looked at Di Bei-chun's departing back, and her heart felt like it would burst with pain. However, both her eyes could not help but be filled with resentment. For so many years, she had always been the arrogant woman in the eyes of all people. How many young masters liked her? She dismissed them. The only one she liked was Di Bei-chun. Now, a woman who had suddenly appeared had destroyed her years of feelings. How could she give up? She would not. She will never lose. How could she be defeated by a woman who is nothing? Han Xiling's eyes gradually strengthened. She believed her big brother had only been briefly blinded by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Soon, he would wake up, and then she and Di Bei-chun would naturally be a couple. When everyone saw Di Bei-chun come back first, their eyes hanged a bit. Wise men had already guessed the conversation between Han Xiling and Di Bei-chun. I didn't think that Han Xiling, who has always been so arrogant, would be defeated by an ordinary girl. I'm really happy. Lin Yiro smiled slightly. She had always been slighted and dismissed by Han Xiling. Now, she was delighted to see this scene. Lin Yiro, you are gloating like this. It seems it's not so good. Yin Ling Xian frowned. Don't you like Han Xiling? Lin Yiro smiled. Now, you must be the happiest person in this situation. Hearing this, Yin Ling Xian's face changed a bit. In fact, this situation really did make him happy. Han Xiling has a temper, is not in line with her style to give up. Huang Fu Hui's eyes shined with wisdom. Bailey Hong Zhuang will be in trouble. Ji Yun'er's eyes were filled with viciousness as she seethed. This woman, Bailey Hong Zhuang, is really damned. Even if Han Xiling does nothing, I will not let her go. As the young miss of Ji family and one of their prided children, when had she ever eaten a loss? In any case, she would not bear this. Lin Yiro looked at Ji Yun'er with a faint smile. Di Bei-chun has claimed Bailey Hong Zhuang as her wife. If you want to offend Di Bei-chun because of Bailey Hong Zhuang, think carefully. Saying this, Lin Yiro's eyes could not help but fall on Bailey Hong Zhuang's body. Although she did not really know Bailey Hong Zhuang, she really admired her. As an ordinary girl, She had stood against both Han Xiling and Ji Yun'er. This courage was not one possessed by ordinary people. It was really interesting. If she had the opportunity, knowing her better was also a good choice. Only after Han Xiling returned did everyone close their mouths and keep silent. Bei Chun sat down beside Bailey Hong Zhuang, his handsome, bright face full of an evil smile. "Aren't you curious what we talked about?" Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows and beautiful face was relaxed. Laughing enchantingly, she asked instead, "Do you want to tell me?" Not even asking her, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but join in on the fun. The two beasts were curious cats. Bei Chun smiled brilliantly. His wifey was very different from ordinary women. He caught Bailey Hong Zhuang's hand, his voice gentle. "I have made it clear to Xiling, and perhaps Xiling will take some time. Wifey just needs to believe in me." Bailey Hong Zhuang gazed at Bei Chun. This guy's straightforwardness made her very satisfied. What she hated the most were men that are ambiguous and don't speak up in such matters. Bei Chun could be so resolute. She was really happy. As for Han Xiling's response, Xiao He and Xiao Bai also told her that the contradiction between her and Han Xiling had only just begun. As a man, Bei Chun was not aware of how fierce fight between women is, especially when there are no smokes in the war. However, she was not afraid. After this incident, everyone turned their heads to rest and adjusted their breath. The ancient monument would be completely revealed tomorrow. They must adjust their strength to it best in order to face the challenges in the monument in their prime condition. There are many treasures in ancient monuments, but there are also many dangers. One small mistake, and their lives would inadvertently be lost. Not only that, but so many cultivators around was already a huge threat. In the event of someone robbing a treasure, it would be a bloody struggle. There was also considerable risk that many things had changed in the past 1,000 years, and her understanding of ancient monuments was not as good as before. As night fell, with so many cultivators gathered there, it was quiet, and only the beasts that came out of the monument stunned the people into an uproar. "Baisher, do you know what guardian beast that is?" Xiao He asked. "This guy is too noisy." Baisher nodded. "This should be the Qing Tian Mo alligator. With its inherited memory, it had a deeper understanding of demonic beasts. From a voice, he could determine the identity of the Qing Tian Mo alligator." Hearing the name of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, Bailey Hong Zhuang's face changed a bit. The Qing Tian Mo alligator is comparable to a human cultivator at the Huang yellow border. Adding in the fact that this Qing Tian Mo alligator has guarded the ancient monument for so many years, its strength must be stronger than ordinary Qing Tian Mo alligator. "I didn't expect this to happen. A beast like this alligator is a hassle." Xiao Hei's face was dignified, and he had no choice but to mention it. "Baisher, can you stop the Qing Tian Mo alligator?" Xiao Hei asked. No matter how you say it, Baisher was the Beast King. Baisher looked a bit depressed. "My strength is still weak. I will be able to shock the Qing Tian Mo alligator for some time with my aura, but later he will be able to resist." Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's face became serious. It had not been long since Baisher had been born. With just a few months, his strength was naturally not too strong. But to think that its aura could shake the Qing Tian Mo alligator was beyond her expectations. Chapter 487, Considering the Risks. Don't worry. There are so many people here, we can't do that. 1. The corners of Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips were slightly raised. There are so many cannon fodders around. If not used, wouldn't it be a waste? The members of the 4 cultivation families must be more than desperate to enter the ancient monument. Once the Qing Tian Mo alligator came out, they would certainly take the lead. After all, they absolutely would not put them in their eyes as merely lucky students who happened to pass through the miasma forest. Although the Tsanglan College was widely known, and they were special enrollment students of the college, but at most they were only considered to have potential and in long term would not be that useful. Master is right. Let these guys use their strength and clear up our way. Otherwise, aren't we being at a disadvantage? Xiao Hei's eyes were twinkling. They had to make use of these people. That was an extremely important point. It's for the tall people to worry when the sky falls. We just need to enjoy our achievements. Xiao Bai said proudly. They must retain their strength to the end. Bai Shi stared at the crowd of black-bellied people in front of him and had to admit that their idea was really good. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo gathered Bailey Hong Zhuang and other people together. The two teachers' face was full of dignified expression. If it is as we expected, the monument will open tomorrow. This is an opportunity with risk. You may have an opportunity for growth, or you could suffer a loss. No one can judge the outcome. Lu Huayan's voice was slightly heavy. You must be very careful. Even with my strength, there is no guarantee that I would not suffer. The only hope is that the trials will not be too cruel. Listening to these words, the other people's face also became dark and worried. This was the first time they were seeing an ancient monument, and everything they knew was from what they had heard about it. Even from news they had heard before, they knew that there would be many cultivators gathered before an ancient monument appeared. 2. The only good news this time was that because of the toxic miasma, they would not have as many competitors. In addition to the trials and traps laid out in the monument, other forces must also not be ignored. It is inevitable that you will have to fight for treasures. Fu Hongbo sighed, trying to fight for the treasures in the monument with their current strength. It was too difficult. The four families and the practitioners of Tiangang Zone were not simple, especially since the conflict between Ji Yun'er and Bailey Hong Zhuang was so fierce. Once the two people met inside the monument, Bailey Hong Zhuang's situation would be bad. Being confronted in this way was fate, and no one would be willing to give up. Even if hope was very uncertain, very few people have such an unparalleled will. 3. You have to think carefully. If you don't have the confidence, don't go into the monument. Fu Hongbo's eyes were full of seriousness. I have already informed the college about this, and you will certainly be able to go back safely. You must know that you are talented young people. As long as you practice hard, you will be able to succeed in the future. Fu Hongbo and Lu Huayan's feeling were very complicated at the moment. On one hand, it would be a pity if someone gave up this opportunity. On the other hand, as teachers, they were also reluctant to see their students suffer injuries. As for the final decision, that could only be made by the students themselves. After the two teachers said this, everyone became silent. The risks involved were indeed worthy of their careful consideration. One BHZ is saying that Bai Shi can't use her powers because other people are present. 2. It should be from news about previous appearances of ancient monuments. They knew instead of the current line. However, that is what I think it should be and not what the Ross say. 3. These two lines are in reference to BHZ. Although it is not stated explicitly, they mean to say that even if there was a slim chance of victory with BHZ's character, she would still fight. Chapter 488 Lu Qin used decision. Lu Qin, you was the most hesitant. A long time ago, her master had told her that her talent in cultivation was not as good as that in alchemy. It was not that her cultivation talent was bad, but that she lacked the courage of cultivators. Although she had never stopped cultivating, because of this, she still devoted the most energy to practice alchemy. She had originally told Master to not be too concerned about her. Since the past 2 times Yi Hu Chung appeared, she had understood more what her master meant. Her strength was higher than Bailey Hong Zhuang's, but she still needed her help to save herself. This alone had already proved the problem. For the ancient monument, she was naturally full of interest, but when she thought of the dangers inside, she lost her confidence. Under such circumstances, would she still want to go? After Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fengyu pondered for a moment, their stance on this became more firm. This kind of opportunity was rare. Once missed, it wasn't necessary that they will have it again in this lifetime. If they gave up now because they were not strong enough, they would surely regret it in the future. Cui Haoyan, Zhang Yunfeng, Bai Junyu, and Xia Zhiqing also made their decision after struggling for a moment. They must absolutely not regret their choices. Bailey Hongzhuang had never changed her stance from beginning to end. Giving up on something just because it was dangerous, that was not her style. Di Bei-chun was also the same. When he sees an opportunity, he was happy to pounce on it. How could he give up just because of some danger? After everyone made their decision, Lu Qinyu suddenly said, "I have decided to go back to the college." Hearing Lu Qin use words, everyone stopped for a moment, but soon they understood her decision. An alchemist was an extremely rare talent. Once she became an alchemist, she was doomed to become rich and wealthy. What's more, Lu Qinyu's talent in alchemy was outstanding, and she was recognized as a genius alchemist. She simply does not need to take this risk. Lu Huaiyin nodded slightly. Well, I've already informed the college. They will release a signal flare when they arrive outside the miasma forest. When you see the signal flare, then go. They'll be safer. There was still a large number of cultivators outside the miasma forest. After the arrival of the 4 families, the outsiders would be even more eager to enter. If Lu Qinyu went out hastily, she would surely be apprehended by everyone. Only by someone from the college waiting outside will be able to guarantee her safety. Hearing this, Lu Qinyu nodded her head and said, "I understand. You're safe right now. Stay here." Fu Hongbo felt a bit relieved. Lu Huaiyan's eyes fell on the crowd. "Since you have already decided to go in, you must be careful tomorrow. We cannot predict what kind of traps will be in there. Everyone can only react spontaneously and help themselves." "We understand." Everyone responded. Inside the monument, even if their teachers were present, they cannot guarantee their safety. The only one they could rely on was themselves. As cultivators, they're always exposed to countless risks. From the day they walked down this road, they had been ready. The people once again started cultivating, but the mood was significantly heavier. "Gong Dage, you must be careful tomorrow. I won't accompany you this time." Chapter 489. Di Bei-chen's fear. There was a slight hesitation and fear on that gentle and charming face, as Lu Qinyu gazed at Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing nodded. "You are right. There's a lot of risks here. No one knows what the final result will be. Gong Dage, with our strength, it is too risky." Lu Qinyu's beautiful face was slightly wrinkled. The Ji family has many strong cultivators. Regardless of the risk of the monument, it will be the added risk of meeting the Ji family. If they see that you have got a treasure, they will surely forcibly rob you. It's too dangerous. It's better. Without waiting for Lu Qinyu to finish her sentence, Gong Shaoqing had already interrupted her. "You don't have to say more. Such a good chance, I will not give up." Lu Qinyu would like to continue talking about this, but after seeing Gong Shaoqing's firmness, the words she had not yet said were swallowed back. Then, "Gong Dage, I'll be waiting for you at the college," Lu Qinyu said gently, voice full of tenderness and love. She had been stubbornly studying at the Tsanglan College instead of studying directly at the Alchemist Guild like Wei Mei Dai, and a large part of the reason was Gong Shaoqing. Only at the Tsanglan College could she always be with Gong Shaoqing. She was afraid that she would never see Gong Shaoqing after she returned to the college. She was completely unable to afford it. "I will go back first," Gong Shaoqing said slowly. "Lady, the ancient monument will open tomorrow. Are you afraid?" Di Bei-chun asked with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head to see Di Bei-chen's bright smile like the stars over the horizon, shining and dazzling her. Her petal-like red lips lifted slightly as Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "I don't really feel afraid. Instead, I have only excitement in my heart." Fear was always a useless emotion. Since she had already decided to do it, fear has no meaning. Instead of wasting time on fear, it was better to think calmly about what to do next. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent look, Di Bei-chen's eyes were full of appreciation as he smiled warmly. "My wifey is very different from ordinary women." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her elegant brows. "You aren't. So to say, we are a match made in heaven." Di Bei-chen blinked deliberately as he questioned. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Bei-chen to see his smile. This guy was really shameless. I think that if you're able to hide your power, you'll be able to win more things tomorrow. Tomorrow you need to be careful. We're going in together, you know? Di Bei-chan stared at Bailey Hong Zhuang as he put away his previously joking manner, his eyes full of seriousness. Seeing the undisguised fear and tension in Di Bei-chan's eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang's heart thumped as she nodded. Good. Di Bei-chan smiled. Although his wife was not afraid or fearful, he was afraid that she would get injured. Right now, for him, what kind of treasure was in that monument was secondary, and the safety of Bailey Hong Zhuang was the most important. Not far away, Han Xiling stared at this scene, a hint of abnormal emotion flashing in her eyes. Unknowingly, Ji Yun'er had come to stand beside Han Xiling. Her face had a slight smile as she asked tentatively, Han Xiling, do you like Bailey Hong Zhuang? Chapter 490 Eating Loss. Ji Yun'er. Han Xiling looked coldly at Ji Yun'er beside her. A hint of cold indifference appeared in her eyes. If I think she's pleasing to the eye or not, how is that related to you? Feeling Han Xiling's indifference, Ji Yun'er also did not care as she sat down beside her. I'm just asking you. This Bailey Hong Zhuang is not strong enough to be the member of a cultivation family, and is an ordinary commoner. Di Bei-chun even gave you up for such a woman. I really don't know what he is thinking. What do you think? Ji Yun'er grinned. In fact, this was her own idea. Listening to Ji Yun'er's words, Han Xiling was still quiet, as if what she had just said had nothing to do with her. Do you really want to let Bailey Hong Zhuang be with Di Bei-chun? When Ji Yun'er got no response, she asked this. Han Xiling's mouth curved in a ridiculing smile as she coldly said, I don't need you to be worried about me. I'm sorry, I don't have the habit of yielding and being used by other people. Ji Yun'er's face changed slightly. Wasn't it that all women would lose their senses if they face such things? Why was it that Han Xiling was so calm after all this? Han Xiling, you misunderstood me. I don't have such an idea. The smile on Ji Yun'er's lips widened a bit. Han Xiling's identity as not low. If she offended her, there would be no benefits. Just watching Bailey Hong Zhuang makes me very upset. If you're interested, we can properly deal with her in the monument. Han Xiling chuckled. You see her and getting a bad mood is your business. I do not have interest in it. If you have nothing else to say, I want to cultivate. Seeing Han Xiling's attitude so cold and determined, Ji Yun'er's face was a bit ugly. She did not understand why Han Xiling's reaction was completely different from her imagination. Is it that Han Xiling does not like Di Bei-chun? Impossible. The idea was dispelled by Ji Yun'er as soon as it emerged. By her intuition as a woman, Han Xiling's feelings for Di Bei-chun were not ordinary. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Han Xiling with her arrogance to have been behind him so many years. Since she couldn't understand why Han Xiling's attitude was like this, Ji Yun'er could only return back to her place angrily, and she did not conceal the anger on her face. Han Xiling was not an easy person to bully, but now she had been looked down on by both Bailey Hong Zhuang and Han Xiling. This made her really mad. Lin Yirou, Yin Ling Xian, and Huang Fu Hui looked at Ji Yun'er's frustrated look, and their eyes were filled with gloating laughter. Ji Yun'er's temper was not good, so there were not many people who could really be friends with her. They and Ji Yun'er just acted cordially towards each other as children of various powers. They weren't even true friends. Ji Yun'er's expression is really interesting, Yin Ling Xian said with a chuckle. On a normal day, she is so arrogant that I fear my arrogance is not worth mentioning. She thought that Han 11 Ling would be like her. However, Han Xiling is not like average people. Huang Fu Hui said as he laughed. Lin Yirou smiled at Huang Fu Hui, her eyes full of wisdom. Ji Yun'er sees things as too simple. In my opinion, even if Han Xiling hates Bailey Hong Zhuang, she will never admit it with that arrogant temper of hers. Not to mention, if Han Xiling wanted to deal with someone, she would need someone's help. In Yin Ling Xian's eyes, a touch of emotion appeared, and after careful consideration, he felt that Lin Ero was extremely reasonable and could not help but admire her. Lin Ero, I did not think you see through things so clearly, ah. Lin Ero's soft lips slightly curved, not because of Yin Ling Xian's words, but because she did not feel the slightest sense of accomplishment. I don't look through things clearly. I'm only a bit more perceptive than others, and am clear about those around me. Yin Ling Xian looked at Lin Ero softly. At this moment, he discovered that Lin Ero was also a smart young woman. In the past, Lin Ero always had a quiet temperament, not talking often, plus with Ji Yun'er, who was always active and attracted everyone's attention. He did not pay close attention to Lin Ero, until he heard Lin Ero's remarks and discovered her intelligence. Sure enough, none of the outstanding disciples of the big families would be simple figures. Time flew by, and a night passed, and most of the ancient monument had now been revealed from the ground. The guardian beast's roar was also fiercer. Bailey Hong Zhuang took in the sight in front of her eyes. The ancient monument was comparable to an entire imperial palace. The white building in the shadow of the sun and the whiteness of the atmosphere gave off an unspeakable sacred feeling. From this tall and majestic building, a sense of grandeur emanated, leaving people in awe. Outside the monument, the faint light, like a layer of water, reflected colorfully under the sun's rays. It was beautiful. However, none of the cultivators present there were in a mood to pay attention to this beauty. What they were interested in was if the ban had been lifted. This monument has been buried in the ground for so many years, and the ban is still so strong. The strength of this monument's owner is evident. Lu Huayan's face was full of admiration. Practitioners who could build ancient monuments were the strong ones who had made a name for themselves. Facing such a strong person, they couldn't help but admire. He was already very lucky to have seen this monument, but if he could become such a strong person in the future, how happy he would be. With the passage of time, the energy of the ban is gradually dissipating. By evening, the ban will completely disappear. Fu Hongbo's eyes were full of wisdom. From yesterday to today, the energy of the ban was dissipating. Inside, he felt a little heavy. Once the ban disappears, the guardian beast will come out, and the guardian beast attacks will be very powerful. You must be more careful. Fu Hongbo nodded, his eyes falling on Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others. When the ban dissipates, we will retreat. The guardian beast is of a high rank. You're not its opponents. If you're too close, you can accidentally get hurt. I don't know what the guardian beast is. It has actually been alive for so many years. It will surely be powerful. It should be a Qing Tian Mo alligator. Di Bei Chun said slowly. Hearing Di Bei Chen's words, everyone's faces changed. The Qing Tian Mo alligator. It was an extremely fierce demonic beast. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo did not doubt Di Bei Chen's words. With Di Bei Chen's background, it was natural his knowledge was vast. Since Di Bei Chen was so sure, it should be true. Her clear and refined face showed her surprise. Bailey Hong Zhuang had not expected Di Bei Chen to be able to judge which guardian beast. It was just from listening to the guardian beast howls. If Baisher had not told her, even she would not know that the guardian beast inside was a Qing Tian Mo alligator. It seems that Di Bei Chen's knowledge of demonic beasts was really deep. This Qing Tian Mo alligator has been locked in the monument for so many years, and it has absorbed a lot of the toxic miasma. I'm afraid its strength can't be compared with a normal demonic beast. Di Bei Chen's eyes were full of a wisdom. His master had often traveled with him, so he has a lot of knowledge. Many demonic beasts were ordinary, but in certain special circumstances, they would evolve and become different, and these demonic beasts were more powerful, and others should always be careful in front of them. This Qing Tian Mo alligator has been trapped for so many years. The food in the monument must be over already. It will be very hungry. Once it comes out, it will be very manic, and its strength will be very scary. Bailey Hong Zhuang said slowly. She knew quite a lot about ancient monuments. Once the monument was buried, nobody knew when it would be revealed. Therefore, the guardian beasts of many monuments would be starved to death. But if the guardian beast survives, their strength would become very scary, especially the moment the guardian beast was released from the ruins. It would be manic and treat everyone as its food. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's insights, others nodded. I seen that they really should be farther away from this guardian beast. We should retreat to some distance away. Sometimes, these guardian beasts will come out when the ban has not completely lifted. Just in case, we should go back now. Bailey Hong Zhuang continued after feeling a wave of fluctuations from the monument. The others were a bit surprised. According to their understanding, the guardian beasts should not be able to come out before the ban had completely dissipated. We have to be careful. We should retreat some distance. Xia Zhiqing agreed. The others also didn't have any objections. After seeing Bailey Hongzeng walk towards the back, Ji Yin'er's ridicule-filled voice rang out. You really have no strength. The guardian beast has not even come out yet, and you are already afraid and hiding. You are so bold. If you have the ability, come to stand here and don't stay back. Ji Yin'er's eyes were full of pride. A person born a plebeian will stay such. Before a ban has dissipated, it is impossible for a guardian beast to come out. However, just as Ji Yin'er's voice fell, the eyes of Xia Zhiqing and the others went very wide as they looked in front of them with horror. You idiot, take a good look at what's behind you. Bailey Hong Zhuang sneered. She no longer felt like paying mind to this idiot Ji Yin. And she quickly retreated a few hundred meters away along with Di Beichun. Ji Yin'er listened to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, her mouth arcing up disdainfully. You want to cheat me with this silly trick? Do you think I was born yesterday? Miss, get back fast. At this point, the cultivators beside Ji Yin'er quickly shouted. Ji Yin'er's face changed as she looked behind in surprise. She only saw a giant, blue-eyed devil alligator running out of the ancient ruin. Ji Yin'er screamed, her entire person scared silly by the sudden appearance of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Chapter 493, A Shameless Idiot. The Qing Tian Mo alligator opened its bloody mouth and suddenly headed towards Ji Yin'er. When the cultivators of the Ji family saw this, they quickly retreated with Ji Yin'er towards the back. The Qing Tian Mo alligator apparently had not expected that the food about to enter its mouth would suddenly fly off, and his heart burst with dissatisfaction. With an angry flick of his tail, he had destroyed the trees next to him. The sudden appearance of the Qing Tian Mo alligator surpassed everyone's expectations. If not for everyone's eyes were locked onto the ancient monument, it is feared that many cultivators would have already died the moment the Qing Tian Mo alligator appeared. After Ji Yin'er escaped, she was pale and stood in the distance, breathing heavily, her face full of horror. If it wasn't for the cultivators of her family who had pulled her away, she feared that she would have already become food for the Qing Tian Mo alligator. How could a Qing Tian Mo alligator appear so suddenly? Not to mention that a guardian beast cannot come out before the ban is lifted? Yan Lingxian was shocked. If he hadn't responded quickly enough, he didn't know what kind of consequences he would be facing. At the moment, Huang Fu Hui could no longer keep his aloof appearance. There are few traces of guardian beasts in a monument. So many people do not understand the situation well. Then, everyone's eyes could not help but fall on Bailey Hong Zhuang's body. All of they had not known that the Qing Tian Mo alligator would suddenly appear, but Bailey Hong Zhuang, who had elegantly retorted, knew and had retreated along with the people of her college. Could there really be such a coincidence in the world? Or was it possible that Bailey Hong Zhuang expected that the Qing Tian Mo alligator would appear earlier than expected, and thus reminded the students of the Tsanglan College to stay away? The hearts of the people were full of a complex feeling. However, after careful consideration, everyone thought that this was impossible for Bailey Hong Zhuang to say such things out of luck. It was very likely that Bailey Hong Zhuang had already expected this. At the thought of this, everyone's faces became even more puzzled. They only thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang was not an ordinary person. But with this move of Bailey Hong Zhuang, they were even more sure that Bali Hong Zhuang was not an ordinary person. Hey, aren't you very powerful? How can your expression be so scared at this moment? Bailey Hong Zhuang lifted her chin slightly, the corners of her mouth lifting in an enchanting laugh as she mocked Ji Yuner mercilessly. She had always been a person who gifted upon others what they gave to her. Since Ji Yuner had taken the initiative to find trouble with her, she also didn't mind laughing at Ji Yuner. Ji Yuner's face was very pale. At the moment, after listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, her hatred for her became even more intense. Nonetheless, she was now not even qualified to ridicule Bailey Hong Zhuang now. You just had some good luck, so what? Ji Yuner pondered for a moment and could only say this as a retort. Bailey Hong Zhuang said lightly, "What do you think about how you look right now? You look so pale and scared, not at all gutsy." Xia Zhiqing and the others had a smile on their faces. Ji Yuner's previous words were skillfully countered with this, and they snorted in laughter. Instead of her mocking Bailey Hong Zhuang, Ji Yuner had been turned into a joke. Han Xiling slyly glimpsed at Ji Yuner, her eyes full of disgust. Idiot! Fortunately, she didn't say anything to this idiot, or even she would have lost face along with this idiot. Chapter 49, Attacking the Qing Tian Mo Alligator. When the Qing Tian Mo alligator appeared, its bloodthirsty eyes were locked onto the people, and its bloody mouth was open to reveal blood and watery drool. In the ancient monument, it had been hungry for a long time. It had not expected to see so much food as soon as it came out. It was worth it. Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others looked at the Qing Tian Mo alligator in front of them. Seeing the Qing Tian Mo alligator's entirely blue body, black lines appeared on her forehead. Its eyes were black and ball-sized, exuding a ruthlessness as it stared at them. Dense scales covered its entire body, making it more menacing. The Qing Tian Mo alligator was a kind of hard-to-find demonic beast. Its scales were hard, and ordinary weapons would not be able to penetrate it at all. Not only that, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was also extremely powerful, and its giant tail was a great weapon. One sweep of the tail would be able to knock down many heavy objects. Once hit by its tail, a cultivator is most likely to vomit and die. At this moment, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was grunting and watching the crowd as it fantasized about food, thinking which one it should eat first. I didn't expect that the guardian beast in the monument would turn out to be a Qing Tian Mo alligator. It will be difficult to deal with it. Yan Ling Xian frowned. It seems that the owner of this monument was even more powerful than we imagined. The strength of the Qing Tian Mo alligator is already at the Huang, yellow border. In my opinion, it will be impossible to defeat the Qing Tian Mo alligator with the power of a single family. It won't be as effective as everyone attacking and killing the Qing Tian Mo alligator together. How about it? One of Ji family's cultivators said. Hearing those words, the powerful exponents in the crowd nodded. Good. Everyone will join hands to kill this Qing Tian Mo alligator. In the face of such a powerful demonic beast, the younger generation was simply not its opponents. Only by relying on them will this trouble be solved. Lu Huaiyin and the Fu Hong both looked at each other, then nodded together before immediately rushing towards the Qing Tian Mo alligator. You stay in place, don't come. Their voice sounded in the ears of Bailey Hong Zhuang and the other people. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hong Bo had already disappeared from in front of them. Since the 4 cultivation families and the cultivators of Tian Gangzong had already contributed, if they continued to stay in place while doing nothing, it would not be right. Since they came here, they will try to find the treasures within the monument. If they did not contrite at this moment, once the Qing Tian Mo alligator has died, the 4 cultivation families and the cultivators of Tiangong Zone may not even let them enter the monument. At that time, they would be helpless. Seeing the actions of the 2 teachers, The eyes of Gog Shaoqing and the others gradually changes. It was not easy for the two teachers. HHHGH. The Qing Tun Mo alligator snarled as it saw so many cultivators rushing towards it, a flash of excitement flashing in its eyes. It felt very hungry, and these morsels or food had arrived automatically. Shing! The sound of iron and other metal types of long swords slashing onto the Qing Tian Mo alligator's body came. However, the fierce attack that fell on its body did not even pierce the scales of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Only a shallow white mark was left on the scales. Damn it! This Qing Tian Mo alligator's defense is too strong. The face of the master from G family was a bit ugly. Although he had known that the Qing Tian Mo alligator would not be easy to deal with, he had not thought that the defense of the Qing Tian Mo alligator would have metamorphosed so abnormally. Chapter 495, Only Slightly Worse. Qing Tian Mo Alligator O. After the first cultivator tried, the attacks of other masters fell onto the body of Qing Tian Mo alligator. The same attack still could not break the defense of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, and the huge tail of the alligator kept sweeping them away. The crowd could only escape constantly while looking for opportunities to attack. Faced with the attacks of the crowd, the Qing Tian Mo alligator was still very calm. These kinds of forceful attacks fell on him, but felt like tickles. We will attack the same place. We have to find a breakthrough, an opportunity. Lu Huaiyan's Yuan Li condensed as he shouted. Listening to Lu Huaiyan's words, the exponents of the four families and Tian Gang Zone only nodded. This was the only way they could proceed now. The only weakness of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was its abdomen, but attacking there was near impossible because of the alligator's short legs. Together with its constantly biting head and sweeping tail, they had no way to attack the Qing Tian Mo alligator. The alligator's abdomen was even more out of reach. As a result, Lu Huaiyan's approach became the only solution. Ding! Oh! After deciding on the attack method, everyone concentrated their attacks on the same area. The original hard scales were inevitably shattered under everyone's attacks, and blood flowed from the back of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Suddenly, the tingling sensation turned to pain, stimulating the Qing Tian Mo alligator as its snarls became more fierce, and its attacks also became fiercer. Thunk! Every time the Qing Tian Mo alligator took a step, a terrible noise was heard from the ground. It was like an earthquake, making the people feel shocked. With the fierce attacks of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, many cultivators were injured. Boom! A cultivator of the G family was swept away by the giant tail of the Qing Tian Mo alligator and flew backward. The huge force made his viscera feel on fire as his entire body was shocked by the impact. Ah! Another scream rang out. A cultivator had been bitten by the Qing Tian Mo alligator. RGH! The Qing Tian Mo alligator grunted as it chewed twice before swallowing the practitioner directly. A rich yellow light shone around the body of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. With the increasing number of wounds on the Qing Tian Mo alligator, the number of wounded cultivators was also increasing. I did not expect this demonic beast to be this scary. Bai Junyu's face did not conceal his shock. He had always known that demonic beasts at the Huang, Yellow, border were very scary, but he had never seen it with his own eyes. He had not felt how strong they could be. The strength of these cultivators was already very strong in his opinion, but in front of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, they were weak. This was the terrifying power of the congenital realm. Nothing will happen to the two teachers, right? Lu Qinyu's face was full of fear. In this group of people, the strength of the two teachers was not very strong. They could get hurt. Blood dripped down Lu Huaiyan's mouth. He had already suffered a heavy blow. Under such circumstances, a single careless move would cost him his life. I believe that with the strength of the two teachers, they will not be in danger. Xia Zhiqing murmured. both eyes staring intently at the situation, her heart full of worries. Dong Fengyu and Gong Shaoqing's face was dignified. This Qing Tian Mo alligator has been injured by the attack of so many people. I believe that it will not be able to persist for a long time. Only a fatal wound can kill the Qing Tian Mo alligator, Bailey Hong Zhuang said slowly. Chapter 496, Are They Crazy? When Bailey Hong Zhuang's words sounded, Di Bei Chun and she looked at each other. They understood each other's thoughts. In the next moment, before everyone's eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun had rushed directly towards where the Qing Tian Mo alligator was. What are they going to do? Xiaji Qing could not help but exclaim. The Qing Tian Mo alligator was a demonic beast at the Huang, yellow, border with Bailey Hong Zhuang's strength. Fighting with the Qing Tian Mo alligator was tantamount to looking for death. As soon as this remark came out, some other people's eyes also condensed on the body of the two people. Everyone felt somewhat bizarre. The masters of the various forces had not killed the Qing Tian Mo alligator. What could Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun, these two people, do? This Bailey Hong Zhuang is too overconfident, really finding death. Ji Yun'er's voice was full of ridicule, her eyes full of viciousness. The scene that had happened just before had made her lose face in front of all people. Regardless, she must get it back. She was the glorious young miss of the Ji family, being ridiculed so by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Where would her pride go? I didn't expect that with Di Bei Chen's great strength, his sight in choosing women would be so poor. Ji Yun'er said, her words full of disdain. In front of so many people, Di Bei Chun had not given her any face. At this moment, she even hated Di Bei Chun. Di Bei Chun is acting a bit too impulsively. In such a situation, rushing forward is no different from looking for death. Huang Fuhui frowned. Even Lin Yiro, who had always been more intelligent than others, was somewhat puzzled. Could it be that Di Bei Chun had a way of dealing with the Qing Tian Mo alligator? Judging from the current situation, although the Qing Tian Mo alligator had been injured, it was still obviously very powerful. Once they rushed in, they would surely be attacked by the Qing Tian Mo alligator. This was a reckless decision. Maybe the two of them really are confident. Yinling Xian said as his eyebrows rose. He looked rather uncomfortable. For excellent geniuses, like them, one less competition was not a bad thing. Han Shiling's face that had been indifferent since beginning to end changed a bit after seeing Di Bei Chun rush forward. Big brother. Staring at the two figures, one white and one gold, she could not help but frown. Originally, the person who could be next to Big Brother was only her. Others may not understand the strength of Di Bei Chun, but she had known her Big Brother for so many years, so she still understands the situation of Di Bei Chun. If he had rushed forward, Big Brother certainly had an idea of how to kill the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Di Bei Chun had not thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang would rush alongside with him. However, after seeing the confident appearance of Bailey Hong Zhuang, a faint smile appeared on his lips. What they both needed to do was not to fight the Qing Tian Mo alligator, but to attack. You go left, I'll take right. As they appeared in front of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, Bailey Hong Zhuang shouted, "Okay." Di Bei Chun also yelled. The next moment, the two people rushed forward to the two sides of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo saw that Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang had suddenly appeared under such circumstances, and their faces were filled with intense tension. "You brats, what are you two doing here?" Lu Huaiyin's voice was filled with anger and worry. In such a situation, even if they were both in danger and risk, why had these two people rushed forward? The attack power of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was so terrible that they can't protect the two of them. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled before saying, "Teacher, don't worry about us." Chapter 497 is not simple listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo were both confused. In the face of such a dangerous situation, the two did not have the time to think too much. They only knew that Di Beichun and Bailey Hong Zhuang were not impulsive people. Since they had rushed forwards, they must already have plans. Bailey Hong Zhuang used her shifting shadow technique and had already jumped onto the back of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. After the Qing Tian Mo alligator felt that someone was on it, its entire body began to shake constantly, only wanting to shake off Bailey Hong Zhuang from its back. Bailey Hong Zhuang had a sword in her hand. Her eyes had been set in the wounds of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. The next moment, she did not hesitate to pierce the back of the Qing Tian Mo alligator using the sharp sword in her hand. KCHH. A clear and subtle voice sounded, and Bailey Hong Zhuang's body had deeply pierced the alligator's body. Oh! The sudden and intense pain deeply spurred the Qing Tian Mo alligator as it suddenly snarled and madly rioted. All of a sudden, the masters next to the Qing Tian Mo alligator were all stunned and had to recede. Once the Qing Tian Mo alligator went berserk, its fighting power would be even scarier. The people looked in horror at the entanglement of Bailey Hong Zhuang and the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Regardless of how the Qing Tian Mo alligator swayed, Bailey Hong Zhuang stayed on its back. Not only that, but the blade she had used to stab the Qing Tian Mo alligator was still embedded in its body, as blood continued to spill out. Yin Lingxian and the others were surprised. After seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang, their eyes were even more incredulous. Just climbing onto the Qing Tian Mo alligator's back already required great courage. Not to mention that Bailey Hong Zhuang was currently in such a dangerous position. My God, Bailey Hong Zhuang is too strong, right? Xia Zhiqing opened her mouth wide, looking sluggish. She had never imagined that Bailey Hong Zhuang would climb onto the alligator's back. Bai Junyu swallowed. If it wasn't for the scene occurring right before him, he wouldn't have believed it. The cultivators who were dealing with the Qing Tian Mo alligator were too afraid to climb onto its back. In addition to Bailey Hong Zhuang, not many can do this. Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu were both silent. They had to admit that this method Bailey Hong Zhuang had come up with was really excellent. In a short period of time, the injury the Qing Tian Mo alligator suffered had become more and more serious. Ji Yin'er, who had been taunting, could not speak. In fact, such a move by Bailey Hong Zhuang really made people feel uncomfortable. This Bailey Hong Zhuang is really not simple. Huang Fu Hui chuckled. The eyes watching Bailey Hong Zhuang became bright. Han Xiling felt a hint of embarrassment, and negative emotions flashed in her eyes. She had always been conceited. She always thought that she could do this, and that she was the best. She just did not want to bother wasting her time. Now seeing other people's gazes, her heart was full of unpleasant feelings. If these gazes had been directed at somebody else, she might not have cared, but since the person was Bailey Hong Zhuang, it was not the same. Oh! The Qing Tian Mo alligator swept away, and the ground cracked under the force of its huge till. The situation of Bailey Hong Zhuang was also very dangerous, but she escaped narrowly and dangerously every time. Finally, after the Qing Tian Mo alligator could no longer withstand the pain from behind, it turned over. Chapter 498. Witty Lady. The Qing Tian Mo alligator turned to its back very quickly. With almost no sign, its entire body collapsed to the ground. Obviously, it wanted to flatten the nasty guy who was on its back. Bailey Hong Zhuang's speed of response was also very fast. She jumped down as soon as the Qing Tian Mo alligator was about to turn over. However, everyone has not seen the sharp reaction of Bailey Hong Zhuang. A pale golden figure had already rushed towards the belly of the Qing Tian Mo alligator with a lightning speed. Everyone present was aware that the biggest weakness of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was its abdomen. There was no defense on the white skin. At this moment, attacking the Qing Tian Mo alligator's belly was naturally the best thing. Laugh! A fierce light from a double-edged sword flashed, and everyone merely heard the sound of flesh tearing Then, the Qingtian Mo alligator's body burst, as if ready to explode as it got ready for another round. The power of a Huang border cultivation broke out. After seeing this scene, Di Bei Chun and the others did not dare to delay, as they quickly retreated. They all saw the Qingtian Mo alligator's red eyes. All the people there knew what this was. It was the berserk state. This is the berserk state of the Qingtian Mo alligator. Everyone should retreat. It was a wonder who shouted, but the people reacted quickly, not daring to delay by even half a second. They fled. The Qingtian Mo alligator madly chased everyone. The powerful Yuan Li attacks were desperate, and the surrounding trees fell from its force. Damn, the berserk state of this Qingtian Mo alligator is really very horrifying. Yan Lingxian ran away while cursing. Di Bei Chan looked for Bailey Hong Zhuang, who had jumped away just a moment before the Qingtian Mo alligator flattened her. Both their attack had fatally injured the guardian beast. With the strength of Qingtian Mo alligator, its speed was extremely fast, so they only had one chance. No matter whether they were successful or not, for now, they could only leave. But obviously he succeeded. One hand pulled Bailey Hong Zhuang in the rush, as Di Bei Chun greeted her with a bright smile. Wifey is really witty. Your strength is comparable to a cultivator in the congenital realm. The previous move made by Bailey Hong Zhuang must have looked simple to some, but it was not very easy to succeed in it. In addition, it was extremely dangerous. However, the performance of Bailey Hong Zhuang surprised him. Although she was in such a dangerous situation, there was no panic. Her beautiful face was so cool that it was unbelievable. Your timing was also very accurate. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curved slightly, her beautiful face gazing at Di Bei Chin beside her. It seems that the way they cooperated was still very good. The Qingtian Mo alligator should not be able to persist for long. Let's take a rest. After running some distance away, Di Bei Chan sat near a tree trunk, his entire attitude relaxed and casual. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. She could feel the movement of the Qingtian Mo alligator struggling in the distance. As it became fainter and fainter, she believed that the Qingtian Mo alligator must also be exhausted. Oh, the Qingtian Mo alligator isn't moving anymore. Is it dead? Xiaji Qing's eye flashed with curiosity. Previously, she had felt the entire ground was trembling. If they had not known better, they would have thought that an earthquake had occurred then. It should be, but we will not go over at the moment. Maybe the Qingtian Mo alligator is not dead yet. Gong Xiaoqing said with a sigh. Some demonic beasts will continue to grow in intellect after attaining a certain level of cultivation. They must be careful. Chapter 499 if you want. I will accompany you. Previously, I'd looked down on this Bailey Hong Zhuang. With her cultivation being just at the mysterious Ian and having so much courage, it is rare. Yan Lingxian shook his head in exclamation. Before he had thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang was really courageous with the way she treated Ji Yuner, but he had not expected her to be just as fearless in battle. Seeing Yan Lingxian's admiration for Bailey Hong Zhuang, a touch of dissatisfaction appeared in the eyes of Ji Yuner, and her next words also had a hint of sourness. What's so great? Can't everyone do that? Ji Yuner snorted. This kind of thing is not worthy of us personally fighting. As children of cultivation families, they had no need to undertake a task personally when the time came to fight. Ji Yuner, if you haven't eaten the grapes, don't say they are sour. Even if you do it, I am afraid you won't be much better than Bailey Hong Zhuang. Linny Rose said softly as she looked at Ji Yuner. Such an attitude. She did not like people like Ji Yuner. In fact, if Bailey Hong Zhuang had also been from a cultivation family, she believed that Bailey Hong Zhuang would be among the young generation of powers. Linny Rowe, what do you mean by that? Ji Yuner stepped forward, and a trace of anger appeared on her face. Since yesterday, Linny Rowe had been praising Bailey Hong Zhuang from time to time. It was clear that she was taking the opportunity to mock her. What do I mean? I am just telling the truth. Lin Ero felt quite indifferent. She did not care about Ji Yun'er's question. Ji Yun'er, you should know that with who I am, others may be afraid of you, but I don't have a reason to be. Lin Ero whispered softly, an indifferent and cold expression appearing on her gentle face. Han Shilin looked at that conflict between Ji Yun'er and Lin Ero, a very strange feeling appearing in her heart. It seemed that although Lin Ero appeared soft and weak, underneath there was a strong heart. Ji Yun'er obviously did not expect that Lin Ero would go against her, and her face turned ugly. I don't have the time to squabble with you. After we come out of the ancient monument, we will slowly settle this account. If you want to, I will accompany you. Lin Ero softly raised her eyebrows, not putting Ji Yun'er's words in her heart. Master, the Qing Tian Mo alligator is dead. Baisher's voice screamed in Bailey Hong Zhuang's head. Then we should go now, Bailey Hong Zhuang said. Master, I want the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Baisher squinted his small eyes, eagerly looking at Bailey Hong Zhuang, thinking of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. The demonic crystal of it was very good. The Qing Tian Mo alligator was a Huang border demonic beast. The energy in its demonic core would also be very rich. It would be much higher than normal demonic crystals. It would really be very great for him. Bailey Hong Zhuang felt a bit awkward, but she had completely forgotten about her contractual beast who would gobble demonic cores in seconds. Looking at the light flashing in the star like yes, it was impossible to refuse. I'm going to get the demonic core. Di Bei-chun looked at the sudden change in Bailey Hong Zhuang's expression, his handsome face filled with a trace of incomprehensibility. Wifey, what is the problem? Bailey Hong Zhuang slightly shook her head, then pointed at the little guy in her arms, saying, This little guy wants to eat the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Hearing this, Di Bei-chun also reacted. The Beast King always liked to eat demonic cores. The Beast King is still young. The demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator will be no small help for him. We should get the demonic core of the alligator now. Di Bei-chun said slowly, brimming with confidence. Bailey Hong Zhuang also agreed. She would not let go of anything that could help Baisher. The next moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun no longer hesitated as they quickly flew to the place where the alligator was. Master, the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator is very valuable. I am afraid that this group of people will not let you take the demonic core so easily. Xiao Hei's eyes had a touch of worry in them. For those guys' attitude, he was knowledgeable. Even if the Qing Tian Mo alligator had been killed under the joint effort of their master and Di Bei-chun, but because the strength of their team is not strong, it would not be easy to get it back from them. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes were slightly dazed, a touch of sorrow flitting past like lightning, before turning fierce and decisive. Since it is something I want, I have no reason to let others take it. Her cold voice was as arrogant as ever. It is not easy to take away the thing that she, Bailey Hong Zhuang, wanted. Seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang be so domineering, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai also felt excited. This group of people had a hand over the demonic core. If they don't give it back, they will show them their power. Soon, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chun returned back to the front of the monument. The originally flat ground was now a mess, and there were more than one deep or shallow pits scattered all over the ground. It could be seen how terrible the attack power of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was. At the moment, the leader of the Ji family was cutting the head of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, apparently wanted to take out the demonic core of the guardian beast. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang walked to the front of Ji Jianbin. This demonic core is useful to me. If you don't mind, give the demonic core back to me. As soon as she said this, the faces of the cultivators around them all changed. Ji Jianbin looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang, feeling a bit hesitant. The value of the Qing Tian Mo alligator's demonic core was not low, but it was not a big thing for their G family. Not to mention that the Qing Tian Mo alligator had indeed been killed by the hands of Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. His eyes turned to look at Di Bei Chun, and Ji Jianbin had already determined what to do. A thing like this demonic core was not too important. He did not need to offend Di Bei Chun for it. However, just as Ji Jianbin was ready to nod and give it, Ji Yun'er's voice sounded. No, this demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator belongs to our family. Why should we hand it over to you? Ji Yun'er looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang. Her sharp and proud appearance was clearly provocative. Listening to these words, Bailey Hong Zhuang's smile deepened, her gaze sharp as a knife that she used to pierce Ji Yun'er. From beginning to end, you have not done anything. What make you qualified to have any say over who the demonic crystal belongs to? Not to mention, there were so many masters involved in killing the Qing Tian Mo alligator. Why do you say that this demonic core belongs to your family? Listening to these series of questions from Bailey Hong Zhuang, Ji Yun'er's face became like the bottom of a pan. At this moment, this Bailey Hong Zhuang was still so proud. I said that this demonic crystal belongs to my Ji family. Ji Yun'er did not care what Bailey Hong Zhuang had to say. She had already made up her mind to act like a rogue. After seeing such an attitude from Ji Yun'er, the surrounding cultivators all showed a look of helplessness. Although Ji Yun'er was utterly shrewish, she had never been this capriciously mule-headed. They did not expect that in front of Bailey Hong Zhuang, she would entirely become a troublemaker. If I say so, that demonic core is mine. Her voice was cold, underlying with threats of death and despair, a bright light shining in Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes. For Ji Yun'er, this trash, she felt too lazy to even pay attention. For provoking this kind of princess was tantamount to evoking infinite trouble for oneself. No matter what, she did not want to find trouble. It was always Ji Yun'er who took the initiative. Not only had she provoked her 3-4 times, at this moment, she was still being unreasonable. In her heart, the anger she felt was inevitable. Listening to the threat in Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Ji Yun'er could not help but be furious. But after seeing the pair of eyes, bleak as ice and murderous, her heart was shocked. They pair of big, black yes emitted endless waves of murder. Bailey Hong Zhuang's strength was not as good as hers, but she still felt a chill run down her spine in the face of such intense murderousness. The beautiful face full of allure was also stained by the blood of the Qing Tian Mo alligator, adding a touch of bloodlust to the perfect face. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brilliance was cold, and her pair of black, sharp eyes looked straight at Ji Yun'er, who was unable to dodge. The faces of Yin Ling Xian and the others were also very strange. It was reasonable to say that Ji Yun'er was more powerful than Bailey Hong Zhuang, but right now, the situation had been completely reversed. Bailey Hong Zhuang's one simple sentence was full of such force. Ji Yun'er turned dumb, which was strange. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo looked at each other, the emotions of their faces difficult to cover up. The aura of Bailey Hong Zhuang is really something. It can completely suppress that Miss Ji. Fu Hongbo's face was full of doubts. Who is Bailey Hong Zhuang? Even the daughter of General will definitely never be able to have such an imposing aura. Lu Huaiyin shook his head. He only felt that Bailey Hong Zhuang was not simple. I will give you 3 seconds, hand over the demonic core, or the consequences after that will be yours to shoulder. Bailey Hong Zhuang said, and everyone was able to feel the weight in her words. She didn't want to waste any more time on things other than the ancient monument. Since Ji Yun'er likes to find trouble, she did not mind disciplining her. Ji Yun'er's entire person had turned dumb. She did not understand how Bailey Hong Zhuang was able to pressure her so much, making it very difficult for her to even speak. Di Bei Chen's mouth was arched in an evil smirk, his deep black eyes shining with a little bit of appreciation. It seems that his fears were redundant. His wife had never been easy to bully. Such an imposing aura was enough to shock many people. 3. Bailey Hong Zhuang held up 3 fingers, her expression icy. 2. Putting away 1 finger. The look on Bailey Hong Zhuang's face was still indifferent, as if it was just a simple countdown. However, everyone present at the scene felt extremely uneasy. Xia Zhiqing deeply admired Bailey Hong Zhuang at this moment. Previously, that Ji Yuner had been so arrogant, but now she had been completely suppressed by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Chapter 502 asks you, keep dreaming. Such a Hong Zhuang is really imposing. It was difficult for Xia Zhiqing to cover up her excited expression. For Ji Yuner's behavior, she had long been dissatisfied. Now that she saw Hong Zhuang being so domineering, she felt great in her heart. What happened to that Ji Yuner? Why is she standing there without saying a word? Bai Jun, you did not understand why Ji Yuner looked so speechless at the moment. You are not Ji Yuner. How can you understand her feelings right now? Gong Xiaoqing's voice was very deep. Bailey Hong Zhuang's momentum is very strong, and she has completely affected Ji Yuner, so the pressure on Ji Yuner is huge. At the moment, Gong Xiaoqing was also awed by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Previously, he had felt that it was suspicious for Bailey Hong Zhuang to have such great medical qualifications. Now it seems that the background of Bailey Hong Zhuang was not as simple as he thought. How can Bailey Hong Zhuang's momentum be so strong? Yinling Xian had previously only thought Bailey Hong Zhuang to be a beauty. Now he changed his opinion of her. Such a terrible momentum. Even he wouldn't be able to anything at all. In his impression, only the head of the family will have such a pressing momentum. Even if they say nothing, people would feel a great pressure. There were few young people who had this kind of momentum. There were even fewer people among their generation with it. It was too abnormal for Bailey Hong Zhuang to have it. Huang Fuhui, Lin Yirou, and Han Xiling were all silent at the moment. If they said that they would never meet Bailey Hong Zhuang head-on, they had to admit it at this moment. 2-1. After Bailey Hong Zhuang said the last word, her momentum disappeared and Ji Yuner was relieved. If she hadn't kept warning herself that she couldn't agree, she would have already agreed under that pressure. When she thought about that possibility, she felt terrible. That was undoubtedly showing weakness to Bailey Hong Zhuang in front of everyone. That is something she can't accept. Even if I don't give the demonic core to you, what can you do about it? Ji Yuner said strongly at this moment. She would not show any weakness to Bailey Hong Zhuang. She understood it extremely clearly. You are not very bright. Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips slowly curved in an enchanting smile, like a blooming devil's snare. 3. It evoked a deadly beauty, but it gave people an indescribable feeling of surprise. If you won't give it to me now, be careful you don't ask for something from me. 4. Her voice falling, Bailey Hong Zhuang was too lazy to even pay attention to Ji Yuner and went straight back to her team. However, although no one had seen it, Bailey Hong Zhuang had already sprayed a powder onto the body of Ji Yuner. As a qualified physician, her means of poisoning were also very good. She could often sprinkle poison onto others without them noticing it. Everyone was stunned by Bailey Hong Zhuang's words. In their hearts, they sighed slightly. Wasn't Bailey Hong Zhuang just scaring Ji Yuner? 5. I will ask you for something. You keep dreaming. Ji Yuner sneered. This Ji Yuner is really overdue. Looking at her face, I want to smash her until she turns into a pig. Xiao He waved his fists in anger. There were so many white flowers. 6. They were particularly numerous this year. You don't worry. Master will not let that Ji Yuner off easy. Xiao Bai said somewhat proudly. He had been with Master for so long. He was also very understanding of their Master's character. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.